the Know Your Gear podcast. Today's episode of the Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Know Your Gear podcast, episode 397. It's Friday the 17th of January. So for those that didn't know what the date was, I thought I'd give that to you. It's like on the hour, it's 4 o'clock. Anyways, so technically for some of you it's 3 o'clock, and some of you I think it's 6 o'clock. I don't know. Anyways, let's get into stuff. We have a lot of subjects. We're gonna be talking about a lot of guitar stuff today, especially, but some NAMM stuff that'll be interesting. Some of you guys had questions and subjects about that, and some industry changes, and some gear, and some repair stuff. Before we start, always do some quick announcements. Just wanted to say thank you to all the patrons and the channel members who support the channel, everybody who hangs out live. By the way, if you hang out during the show live, we don't play commercials during the live show, so that so it flows a little better. So just if you don't like the commercials, you have 3 options now. You can watch it live and not get commercials. You can pay for YouTube Premium, or you can become a $5 patron and you get the ad-free version. So there you go. There's at least 3 options, and one of them's free. Okay, so what else? That's it. Oh yeah, we have to thank our moderators. That's it. Nothing else. Just the moderators. Want to thank the moderators for all the help they do every week, and so make sure you look for them. They're blue with a blue wrench. And also to remind you guys that we have 2 exciting things going on. Most importantly, we have the Tim Pierce masterclass deal going on. So what's important is if you sign up for the Tim Pierce masterclass, you get 2 weeks, essentially 2 weeks to check it out with no obligation to buy anything. But because you're a Know Your Gear subscriber, a Film Ignite subscriber, whatever you want to call it, you can get a discount. If you click the link down below, instead of paying $150, you get it for $104. And again, that only gets charged if you don't cancel before the 14-day window. And more importantly, not only do you get great lessons, but you're supporting this channel too, because they're kicking back something to us for sending you guys. So I want to thank you for considering that, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later in the show, because I always end up finding a way to talk about Tim if I can help it, because I like him so much. All right, let's get into some subjects. I grabbed some early riser questions. I usually try to grab them just because they tend to disappear by the time the show starts, because they come before the show starts. This one was from Happy Go Lucky with Lukky. So Happy Go Lucky says, "Hey Phil, you called it." I did. What was it? Hopefully I was going to be a millionaire this year. I don't know. What is it? It says you called it. So for several boutique guitar shops have joined forces. So far they have joined forces. Novo and Fano under a British company, and Iconic Guitars grabbing John Cruz. Any predictions on more to come? So this is from an episode, I'm sure it was a few months ago or whatever, when we were talking about the fact that in 2025, I predict there'll be less guitar manufacturers. And one of the things I was talking about in this, I don't know if we could call it a prediction, I guess. It was more of like an estimation, an idea, was that some companies would merge up. And that tends to happen after a boom like we had. The reason I discussed that, we'll discuss those 2 companies in particular, but the reason I discussed that a few weeks ago or a few months ago was, during the boom, during the guitar boom, I would talk to guitar companies, and some were very aware, in my opinion, very aware of what was happening. It was like every day was Christmas. We're all out there buying guitars and amps and pedals, and just at epic levels. People are spinning at epic levels, and they were like, wow, this is crazy, and we're going to have to figure out when this dance stops, we're going to have to figure out where our seat is. But for every one of those companies I talked to, I felt like there was 3 companies that seemed to be oblivious to the term that I liked, which is everyone's a genius in a bull market. They would say, "Phil, we're rocking, we're doing great." I'm like, "Oh, that's great to hear." And they're like, "Yeah, and the next year will be better, and then in 10 years from now it'll even be better, and it's going to be better, and just better and better and better." And I said, "Well, everyone is doing better, right? How do you know what you're doing is what you've generated in just the or what is just the market, just, with just consumption at crazy levels?" And And I remember saying this to a particular guitar company who's gone already. Just needed that sink in for a second for myself. Anyways, was, when there's 10 doors and there's 10 people and everybody goes in a door, it's fine. But when there's only 9 people, you don't want to be the 10th door. And when there's 7 people, you sure as hell don't want to be the 8th, 9th, and 10th door. You want to be in the first 5 doors to go into, because if there's less people, at least you might have a shot. That was the term I used. That's actually the analogy. Not that great one, by the way, but at least that's what I told them. And they were like, whatevers, and they're gone. So let's talk about this. First, I'll do it out of order. The fan, or in order, the Fano Novo thing. So for those that don't understand, Dennis Fano had a company called Fano Guitars. Okay, so that was his company. And then I'm not really versed in what happened. I know, if I recall, and I'm doing this off memory, something about Fano was, there was a group of boutique guitar builders and I think amp builders. I thought they were together, or maybe I'm just confusing with a group of boutique guitar builders and a group of boutique amp builders. Like at one time, like Tone King and Two Rock and all them were together. When I say together, not one company, but they were working together or something like that. Anyways, this federation, as you will, of guitar builders and amp builders. And somewhere in all of that, Dennis Fano sells Fano, and that goes away. And then he starts later a company, and again, the details are not so much important for this quick little story. Dennis Fano starts a new company called Novo, which we all know as really being the it guitar. I think Novo is probably, when I think of it guitars, like in trend, probably the most in trend guitar in the last 5 years. Definitely right before COVID, and definitely through that whole 5-year period. When I think of, like, if you're going to spend $5,000, it seems like that name comes up more than, most any other boutique builder, next to probably Sir, right? And different animals, but you get the same idea. So if you're not familiar, just wait, basically, if you're not familiar, Novo. I can't imagine you are, because if you're hanging out with me on a Friday, you're probably into YouTube like I am, and most of the YouTube community has a Novo, right? Everybody from Paul Davids to Rhett Shaw to RJ Rinquillo, you name it, has a Novo. So anyways, so Dennis Fano has Novo, right? So he has Novo, and Fano becomes a separate company, which was here in Arizona, and I believe it's still here in Arizona. We've talked about that on the show before. They're not that far from me, I guess. And then Dennis Fano also has a deal with Eastwood, don't confuse that, Eastwood Guitars, to make Revolta guitars. So Revolta Guitars is a deal that, as far as I know, that deal's probably still in place, just so you know. So Revolta guitars are essentially the import Novos. I hate to say it's not Fanos, but they look more like the Fanos. It's very confusing. But anyways, so Revolta is a brand that Dennis Fano is involved with, in the idea that he designed it, and it also is supposed to get it's also supposed to get set up through them. So if you buy yourself a Revolta guitar, even though it's made in Korea, it's supposed to go through the Novo guys, Dennis Fano being the Novo guys. So what's going on this week? What's going on this week is they made a big announcement that Fano guitars and Novo guitars are now back together as one under a new company. I think it's like Psionic with a P or something like that. I don't remember, but it's a British company, and I think Dennis Fano will be running the company, is what I got. He's going to be in charge, or something to that degree. He's going to be holding a position of authority. So, anyways, oh, by the way, Steve from Six Some. Say that twice as fast. Steve at 60 Cycle Hum. I'm just going to say it that way, so I didn't say from. Steve at 60 Cycle Hum said, yeah, Fano is in Tempe, Arizona. Yeah, that's what I recall, is that they're not far from me. So anyways, they'll be merging together. Now, that I think is good news. All good news. Good news, right? I hate to say this because it's a public thing, but I'm going to talk to you guys. Like I said, we talk, it's public. I understand that I get views on these kind of subjects, but it's not to shame or anything. not knowing anything, I literally know nothing. I have no inside information. So I kind of enjoy that more than when I do know stuff and I'm telling you guys stuff, because I like to, like you guys, speculate why this happened. It didn't look like Fano was doing as great as I think it should have. Given the fact, and here's what's funny, and I had a problem too. When I say I have a problem, which I'm thinking maybe that's why it's a problem for them. I would look at the Novo guitar and I would be like, look at the price, and I'd be like, well, maybe I'll buy one. And I was like, man, it's like $5,000, right? And then you $4,500, like crazy money. But then you could go out and look at the Fanos, and the Fanos were priced a little less. I mean, a little less. Poquito, much, not much. But anyways, and I was like, well, they're both, Dennis Fano designs. They're both made really well, it looks like. Maybe I'll go with the Fano. And I never could pull the trigger. And I don't know what it was. I just never pulled the trigger. I've almost bought 2 or 3 Fanos in the last couple years. Not Novos, just Fanos. In the idea, it's like, okay, I'm in the realm. I'm not spending the crazy money. I'm spending the less crazy money, because both numbers are crazy. And couldn't do it. And I wonder if a lot of players... we're in that same boat. Like, I'm not ponying up for Novo, but for some reason, Fano just doesn't feel Fano to me. And so maybe you didn't do it. If that's the case, this could explain this. Maybe with the downturn of sales, maybe the Fano guys were like, we kind of really need to do something. And maybe that's why they're back in the fold. I think this is going to be great, because what's weird to me is it's weird to me, and it's always been weird to me, but if you know the story with Jackson, it kind of makes sense why Grover Jackson, there's Jackson guitars, but then there's Grover Jackson guitars, there's Charvel guitars, but there's Wayne Charvel guitars, there's so much of this, there's Dean guitars, but then there's Dean Zielinski guitars, and there's Parker guitars, and then there's Ken Parker guitars. It goes on and on and on. And there's just something about, it's kind of like, for me, it's like when they get the band back together, when they reunion tour together, when you see like the real band get together, the singer who's always touring with the backup band, and then the real band doesn't have the real singer, and you just like, it never feels as good, but it's what you got. And then one day you're like, what? They're back. This just makes most sense, right? And I'm okay with even if they both do their separate gigs still, as long as they come back together. So I like the idea that Dennis Fano is back with Fano, and I like that Novo's, because Novo's not going anywhere. Like, right? It just, that's a perfect world. Be like if they announced tomorrow that Grover Jackson's back, even though Fender still owns Jackson, Grover Jackson's back at Jackson, right? And he can still make the other stuff he does, but it would be, I love that idea. Right? Like if you told me Ken Parker was going to literally start back Parker guitars again and have his Ken Parker stuff and Parker, like I would be super excited. I'd be like, yes. And what a great way for marketing. Think about this. Here it is. Like I said, we're talking about it on a Friday. What are we going to get? I don't know. 10,000 views in this show. Maybe we get 30,000. Maybe we get 50,000. Maybe we get 4,000. Who cares? It's free advertising because we're talking about it. And some of you guys didn't know who Nova was probably. And some of you guys didn't know how Fano was this. And now you do. And some of you guys are probably looking on their websites right now, like going, maybe I need a Fano before the prices go up. Because you never know. They can raise the prices. By the way, I don't want to start a rumor that their prices are going up. But I'm just saying. Maybe you're thinking, that's what I'm thinking. Like maybe the prices are going to go up. Maybe I'll get a Fano. Because it's not like, it's not like in my mind, just for my opinion only, it's not like if you go, oh, I'm going to wait until the merger's done and everything's done and Dennis Fano's back. It's not like Dennis Fano's making any of these guitars, right? He's essentially Paul Reed Smith now. He's overseeing it. He's the idea guy. It's his thing. But Paul's not sanding your guitars. Dennis Fano is not buffing your guitar, and adjusting your tuning peg for the most part. So it's not like in my thoughts, unless I don't know if this means that the Fano shop in Tempe, Arizona moves to Nashville, which would make a lot of sense, by the way, if they did that. Made it all in one shop. That would make a lot of sense. By the way, and then hold on, Chris has a statement. I'll go to him. But excuse me. But also too, I don't know that Novo wasn't doing well, but if you noticed a few months ago, I mentioned that, those long waits with Novo and where all of a sudden they're like, oh, we have no wait time. And they're like, they spun it really as a positive, but I was like, I don't know, man. Doesn't sound like you've just slowed down in sales. And there was no shame in that, because they went from on, like literally on nitrous, all these companies on nitrous. I've taught, Kiesel guitars, they're not selling as many. They're selling a lot though, but not as many. A lot of companies, Fender, not selling as many. That was not a real market. That was a weird situation that was created that, it's essentially no different than the toilet paper companies saying, wow, we sold out of toilet paper everywhere and we'll do that every day from ever now. You're like, no, that was just something that happened. You sold a lot of toilet paper in a very short period of time. Now it's nothing wrong with the fact that you're going to go back to normal. As long as normal's good. And I think normal's good for those guys. Chris, a viewer's comment was, Fano and Novo are a bit apples and oranges. Novos are deliberately different. Well, I played both many times, and I can only go off. I think of it like I think like a tech all the time. Like, it's quality to me. What am I sensing different in the overall quality? Not a lot of difference in the overall quality, and when I say that, I'm not talking about the fact that somebody left a mark here and somebody didn't leave a mark here. We're talking about design, feel, construction. I would say the biggest difference to me, and a lot of people are not going to agree because that's how it always is. It's just like everything. The biggest difference to me was that Novo has a few more custom type parts on it, where Fano has a lot more production type parts on it. Let's say like a bridge is a good example. When I feel the Fano and check it out, it has like a typical bridge that I would see on any other guitar, where the Novo tends to have its own thing going there. That seems a little different. So anyways, but if you were asking me like the dollar quality amount, like is the Novo, $1,500 to $2,000 on average, because that's what it feels like on average, better in quality? Not that I've seen that I could justify for myself. Obviously, to me, it would be just a design characteristic, and both of them I think are appealing. I think they both have a unique or cool look. I think that's why Fender, some of the new Fender's guitars looks kind of very Novo, Fano to me. That's, I don't know. Let's see. 60 Cycle Steve says also 100% speculation. We like that. Says, but it kind of sounds like the CEO is a rich guy who wants to have fun. Are you talking about the Fano guy? Are we talking about something else? Did I get sidetracked into something totally different? Anyways, like I said, overall, I think it's a good thing that they're merging up. I think it's going to be improved, and I think it's going to make it, again, I think it's like the band's getting back together. I think you have, I think it's good. So let's talk about the other thing. The other thing is Iconic Guitars, which have had their share of troubles for sure, has now teamed up with John Cruz. So if you guys don't know who John Cruz is, he used to run the Fender Custom Shop. He was let go during the COVID years for basically posting some stuff on his Facebook. That you could do your own research, because that gets into the weeds of the politics of it. All I'm going to say is, obviously, he posted something that seemed to be contrary to what his CEO of Fender was posting as a company mantra, so I could see why there was trouble there. Not agreeing or disagreeing with it, just saying I understand, like, oh yeah, I can see why that could be a problem. If I posted something publicly that was against what my CEO was saying publicly, I can imagine I'm going to go to somebody's office the next day and have a talk. Anyways, John Cruz was no longer with Fender. And then he started up his own line of guitars, and those were being ghost built by a friend of mine. And I didn't get the impression that went well. But for not so much build reasons, because my friend does great work, I think there was economic issues there to be had. Anyways, so now I believe John Cruz is now found Iconic, or Iconic has found him. This is a really interesting thing, because I think this is good, because Iconic has been having trouble ever since they did that contract, which they were very public about, and we talked about in depth on this show when they took a contract with the BC Rich guys, which, I didn't think was the best idea. But hey, hindsight's 2020. So it's easy for me to be the armchair quarterback and be like, oh yeah, it was a bad idea because it didn't work out. I mean, who knows? It could have worked out, could have been huge for them, but it didn't work out. So I think this is overall good for the most part. My thought is John Cruz is definitely in the area of most people probably doesn't know who he is, and the small community that does are fans of his work. A lot of people still seek and they're sought after to get John Cruz Fender custom shop guitars. So that's just how that goes. I think that's a good pair up because at this point, I think Iconic is they're showing to me as a potential customer, because I'm always a potential customer of any brand. Like I said, I'm loyal to my addictions. They're showing to me that they're in it, and that's what you want to see. They're really fighting to survive and do well. And keep in mind, their issue is not their guitars. So I've picked up a couple Iconic guitars, so I thought they were fantastic. I've never seen or played a bad Iconic guitar, and I've played 3 or 4 at this point. I have a friend that owns 2. That's 2 of the ones I picked up. Worked on one for somebody once, and then I played one once. And every time I was really impressed. I liked it. I was happy. Same thing. It was like put a little thing in the brain that maybe I'll buy one of those one day. And not happy to hear they were having troubles when they were having troubles. But now I think, like I said, they're doesn't matter. Like the term I like is horsepower. Like, right, you can have any problem you want, but if you got the horsepower, which seems like they do, they're just going to keep going until they succeed. And I never bet against that ever. My logic is, if somebody won't, like I call it like the, when I say Guitar Center is like the Jason Voorhees of the music industry, right? It's like everybody says it's gonna die, but it's back next movie. I don't bet against that mentality. I don't bet against somebody who's not going to quit. I've seen it too many times. It's like, it doesn't matter how many times they're down, they're not going to quit. I'm like, I'm going to probably just go ahead and wait it out and see how it lands. But I'm going to guess it's probably going to land in their favor somehow, some way. So those are 2 good merge ups. Let's talk about what, okay. And then BC Rich 581 says, didn't John Cruz just fold up his tent for his name brand a couple weeks ago? Or is that another hallucination of mine? I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention to that, but that would not shock me as hearing that, because like I said, I didn't, the John Cruz brand, I don't think was working out the way everyone had hoped, is the impression I got. I don't know, who'd probably know is somebody like Casino Guitars. They were a dealer for his guitars, and I think they were doing well with them. It's weird. It's a weird industry as we talk about it. That's why it's fun to talk about this stuff every Friday, because the fact that, the things that happen in this industry are not just like guitars are good, guitars are bad, and that is how easy everything is. There's so many layers to what's going on in the guitar universe. It's they could make great guitars, but they can't get them made fast enough. Or, I was dealing with a company that had an issue a year ago, and their problem was they were doing so well, they were dying. And if that doesn't make sense to you, let me give you an example. They basically got in with a big box chain, and they were doing really well, and the box chain was ordering and ordering and ordering. And the problem is that they were ordering so much that they couldn't build anything outside what the box chain was ordering. And the problem was that they don't make as much margin because they were giving way more margin to the box chain store, the big chain store, big, box store. And they couldn't get ahead of the problem, right? And so what happens is, volume is up, but volume also comes with costs. So costs are up. And when they looked at what they were making with the volume, it was barely paying the cost because of the difference in profit. So the issue became like, how do you turn off that sieve? How do you go, okay, I can't send you any more product because I'm literally not making more. I'm just working more and spending more to make this. I can't supply where I am more profitable because all my resources and time are going into you. So that's literally a problem, but it's a success problem if you think about it. Like, right, they're selling so much stuff, right? They just can't get ahead of the mess, and so in their particular case, it worked out. So it was a happy ending story. They were able to find a way to do that. But this is my point: is that not every story is like their guitars suck and then they went out of business. There's nothing like that. There's all kinds of this out there. That's why it's interesting to talk about. Let's see. Quilted Maple says, so his guitars were being ghost built. I thought he started his own shop. So ghost built can mean many things. Okay. So ghost built does not mean that somebody entirely makes the entire guitar. So for instance, like with that Badland deal, Badlands was having the entire guitar built by a shop. That does happen. Like a Bossy, Tosin was having his guitars built by an entire place, right? So start to finish, the instrument is fulfilled. But some ghost building is it's no different than if you guys ever watch any of these custom motorcycle and sometimes custom car shops and stuff, shows, and they build custom things. They shop certain things out to somebody else. That term is also in ghost building. In other words, like for instance, maybe they built the necks, but they have the bodies made and painted somewhere else. Maybe they have the painting done offsite. Maybe they have the necks made all by one place, and then they build the bodies and do the assembly. So there's all kinds of things. For instance, in the 80s, it was real popular for guitar companies to basically buy necks from one source, bodies from another source, and then assemble them together. And so it also has to do with, not only is it because maybe they don't have the competencies to do that. Maybe they don't have a paint booth, or maybe they don't have somebody who can do those kind of things, or maybe it can be done faster from somebody else. But a lot of times it has to do with just cost, right? It's no different than, this is going to sound silly, but it's no different than if you ever go to the dentist and they like have to make you a tooth, right? Sounds like a silly thing to say. Some dentists pay the hundreds of thousands of dollars for the machine and they make it there. And some of them just keep paying to have a third party make it. The same logic can happen in any business, and guitar is not different. So they can go, look, we can't do these certain things. So they were having certain things done, ghost built. How much of that, I don't want to disclose. Because it's not my place. I mean, I already said too much, kind of thing. Let's see. This is from Maxi Raider. Says, hey, do you think major brand guitar maker websites are horrible? Okay, and you end up finding guitars on Sweetwater or Guitar Center websites. Do I think major brand guitar maker websites are horrible? I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm trying to think of a for instance. No, I don't really think of anything where I have to go. I tend out of habit to go to Sweetwater's website a lot for information, and then sometimes I'll go to Guitar Center's website for other information. Mostly Sweetwater, just because it's the way it's laid out as a website. It's really concise, and I can get to the information very quickly. Than I do, but it's not for any particular reason. Then I just know, where I can get that information. Let me go to Amanda's side. She's sending me stuff. This is from Michael, who says, hey, is the Epiphone Prophecy Olive Tiger Burst the best deal at $649 right now if I want a Fishman Fluence, or should I just get an LTD or even a Charvel? Well, to me, those are different monsters. I mean, I understand if you're trying to go for the same pickups and all those guitars, but to me, an Epiphone, an LTD, and a Charvel are just different animals in how they feel and well, first of all, just how they feel and play. Like that's more so than even how they sound, even if you go with the same Fluence pickups and all of them. I mean, $649 for the Epiphone sounds great. I prefer LTD Charvel, but I like Epiphone just as much, as you guys know. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the best deal. It sounds like a good deal though, because Fishmans are not cheap. So $650, you figure $650, the pickups are $300 a set. That sounds like a good deal. Let's see. This one's easy. I'm just gonna Monk Bucket says, hey Phil, what makes the Sustaniac pickup different than other pickups? I have a video and I will link it to the timestamp. Or you could just go on YouTube and type in Phil McKnight Sustaniac, and it'll come up. And I did a quick video on Sustaniacs and checked it out and talked about it. Let's see. YouTuber, this is what their sign-on's called, says, "Hey, Phil, what's the best low-price entry attenuator to make a loud amp quiet?" I did a video on it's not Behringer, right? It's a Bujera one. The Bujera one was $99. It was fine. Some of the comments in the videos said that some people had issues with them, overheating or having issues. So be concerned with that because that's a lot of feedback. In my, kind of torturing it, I didn't really have any issues. I mean, of course, I noticed it was getting hot. It wasn't that great. It was $99. It was hard to beat. I don't know what budget means to you. That's where it gets a little tough. I mean, an attenuator can be $1,000 or $1,500 easy. I would say some of my favorite attenuators, without a doubt, is the Tone King one. You said, so you have to look at how many watts you need. So I would say, I'm going to just give you my favorite attenuators, and I'll show them to you. Because without a doubt, and I'll try to do it by price, if that makes any sense. Okay, well, I can't do that because it's not going to be able to find all this stuff. Okay, go shop, amps, attenuators, all attenuators. Mini. Okay, so let's start with here. This is the Ironman Mini one at $395. This will do up to 30 watts. This one you can plug in power or have it no power. This is amazing. It's $500 or $400, which is a lot, but you can understand. I mean, it's great. If you need more power, you have to go to their bigger one, which I have a video on that too as well. That one's great, but the main difference to me is that you just need it for more wattage. Then Sir makes an attenuator that is awesome as well. And by the way, you can get these used, right? So don't forget to check out used. The Sir one is the reactive load is $349. Here it is on Sweetwater. So $349. So $50 cheaper than the other one. Very cool. These are very basic, but this is legacy lifetime gear. Okay. So you understand, YouTuber, is that if you buy these things I'm suggesting to you, this should last you forever. You should not be able to kill this stuff. So yeah, I gave you the $100 choice if you only got $100, right? But if you go $400, it's a one-time purchase. There's no reason to need anything else unless you need more, to handle more wattage. Fryette also has one in the $500-$600 range. It's fantastic. These are top quality ones. This is like I'm giving you these. To me, it's like this is the best of the best of the best at these $400 and $500 price points. But don't forget used. Like I said, you can go out there and get tons of them used. And save yourself a couple $100. So let's see. Brian says, if you get the Mini, it only has one speaker out. So if you run a stack, you won't be able to work both. Or you have to slave your cabinets. So that would entail you having to put an extra output jack on one of the cabinets and chain the cabinets. The only way you would not be able to do that is if you're running a 4-ohm cabinet, which you shouldn't have a 112 or single cabinet that's 4 ohms. Even if it's a 412, it should hopefully be 16 ohms wired up that way. So if you had two 412s, two 212s at 8 ohms would be 4 ohms. You could chain those. You'd be fine at 4 ohms with that unit. If you had the 16s, you would have 8. You'd be fine with that. If you had the 2 8s, you're still fine. The only thing you can't is that you can't have 2 4s because 2 4s will give you 2. And 2 is too much. But you could chain them if you wanted to very easily. You just would have to add that to one of the speaker cabinets, which, not a bad thing. Just giving you an option. Like I said, a soldering gun, an output jack, some wires in a little time. But yes, otherwise, yeah, you're absolutely correct. And for the record, I just need to say this to Brian. Brian, you're actually just right. The problem is I live in the world of like the, commenters, which is like, if I don't say the other option, somebody's like, Phil, if you didn't know, and I'm like, okay, I'll just give you all the options. So I don't have to hear somebody say, so you didn't know they can do this. Telly Driver says, why would there be used attenuators? Guitar players go through attenuators Probably, I would say, I couldn't say the highest rate, but it would be, if you told me like what gear churns the most with a single guitar player, attenuators would be in my top 5 things. Attenuators are very, very personal, because of the fact that usually if you're using an attenuator, okay, you usually have an amp that you love and that you're trying to keep at a more respectable volume level, one, or two, you're trying to direct record with it in some way. And all attenuators, no matter how much they claim they don't, seem to have some effect on an amp. In my experience, where someone always says in a video, like, oh, it makes the amp sound dark and therefore it's a horrible piece of crap. I'm like, well, in some cases, that's actually what I like about it. Perfect example would be with the Friedman small box. I find the small box also like a real plexi to be on the brighter side when I get it to the tone I really like. And so when I crank it, it's a little on the bright side, running through attenuation, it darkens it up. I mean, I can adjust the EQ control, but it's nice. It's like a nice blend for me. It works out really nice. Does it make sense? Sometimes the attenuator just works with an amp and sometimes it doesn't work with another amp. I've had attenuators where I've really liked them for years and used them, and then for some reason I'm just using a different style amp now, and I just don't think it works for that amp. It's a very personal, like I said, choice, so I'll just let that attenuator go on. Plus, you're always looking for that better, most perfect attenuator. At least I think, well, I know that everybody is. It's like, that's what they're doing. You get your first attenuator and you're like, oh, and then somebody on YouTube's like, but this one has no difference in tone quality, and it's amazing. And I was up last night till about 1 o'clock in the morning looking at attenuators. I don't know why. I'm totally happy with what I have, but I was looking at new ones either way, just because I was like, maybe I need a new one, another one that's a little better. It happens. Okay, so I thought I grabbed something that was on top of that subject, and then maybe I didn't. Let's do this. Where are we at? Okay, let me come over here. Otherwise, okay. Let me grab some other subject questions. This is from Litvey. Litvey says, hey, a YouTuber named Ben Jordan, Ben with 2 N's, so you guys want to check out his channel. He's a pretty good sized channel, bigger than mine, so that's a really good sized channel. And he says, so a YouTuber, Ben Jordan, said he has media liability insurance. So when he gets angry letters, so not when he gets angry, but when he gets the angry letters, they can be forwarded to a Stonewall legal team of an insurance company. You know about this? Do say more. I know nothing about that. I don't know. Nope. I can tell you I have an attorney, if that helps. And so usually if I have any issues like that, at this point, you can't, any problem, the way I look at it, for me, I can just only tell you about my personal. So I can't tell you about him and why he's doing that. You'd have to watch his content and have him explain why he's doing it. Let me explain my content and why it works for me. The way my relationship has worked with the attorney I've been working with the longest, and there's 2 that I work with, but one specifically for this, for this kind of stuff, business stuff. I call it a $500 problem. So like, for instance, it's usually cost me about $500 to have an attorney do something, which is expensive, but also relatively inexpensive, depending on how you perceive what it is. So sometimes I look at something and if I go, okay, this is a $500 problem. So I'm like, I need you to read this and tell me what you see. So my issue for legal issues on YouTube, if we're talking about the YouTube side of my business, is not angry letters. Those are few and far between. That's not a thing that's really a concern for me. My issue is more like legal documentation sent to me to sign so that I can do something. A perfect example is like an NDA is a perfect example. Like I had once had a company who sent me an NDA, and it was basically, they were basically putting me in a position to where, like on a show like this, I couldn't talk about their company in any way, like because the way they had written the NDA was so crazy, which is why I was like, oh, I'll have an attorney look at this. And he came back and he's like, this is insane. He's like, just so you know, I'll tell you what he said. He goes, here's the problem with this. This is so open-ended that he's like, they're basically saying like anything you even figure out on your own, you can't share with people. And you're like, what? He's like, that's crazy. So like, imagine this. Imagine a company's like, hey, we want to send you a new product. We want you to show it to your viewers. We don't want you to tell your viewers until the 15th of a date of a month. And we want you to sign this document that says that, we're going to give you the information, but you won't disclose any information till this date. That's usually a typical NDA that you might have to sign, right? It's all about just not leaking the information. Okay. So, and most of that NDA, so you know, are going to be done via email with just a basic, like, don't disclose until this date, and then you acknowledge with a yes on the email, and that's enough legality that needs to be introduced for two people to talk about a product release, okay? But sometimes the NDAs get crazy, okay? And in this one, it was so open-ended and so strange. And the idea was like, yeah, we're going to send you this product and you can't talk about it till the 15th. But also, you can't talk about our company in any negative or positive ways. And you can't disclose anything you ever figure out for the next 3 to 4 years, even if we don't tell you about it. And you're like, wait, what? So basically, like, imagine if a company, let's say company A says, okay, don't talk about this guitar until the 15th next month. But also, in the future, if you ever figure out anything on your own about our company or our products and you disclose it, that's part of the NDA. It was really weirdly written. So that's where I would have that stuff. I don't know where an insurance legal team or having an insurance policy to send angry letters to would help me. If I'm getting angry letters, yeah, that's not how it works. Usually, it's not my personality in this idea. Most 99.99%, which is enough to almost say 100, but not quite. If I say something on the show, this is usually where I'll get the headache from, is the show, the podcast. The company that reaches out to me, it's clarification. It's not they're angry. It's like, hey, we would like you to talk, we'd like to talk to you and tell you more, right? So you have more information to share with people. So, because I think it's my personality comes across as I'm obviously don't come across with like, I know everything and you should listen to what I'm saying about this company. It's like we're talking like today. This is a theory. This is an idea. I'm pretty good with the disclaimers. And I always want to learn more. And therefore, I assume you guys want to learn more. So I don't know. That's my NDA. Let's see. That's my idea. 60 Cycle Steve says, the last NDA I saw come in was from Marshall. So, I'm not going to tell you why I'm laughing because of that. But that one was a funny one. Anyways, yeah, some of them are weird. So I don't know. To combat that, what I do now a lot of times is I have my own NDAs. So I just send them the NDA that I've made. That it's like it just makes life easy for me. Although, like I said, the only thing that sucks, I'll tell you just on a side note, just like I have a 5-second therapy session for me. The worst part is a YouTube channel having NDAs is almost every time the company locks you down from talking about something, you can go on Reddit and it's there. Somebody already published it. The guitar dealers all publish it. The dealers are the worst. They're the ones that publish it because they don't really have like these strict NDAs. So like what's funny is they got to tell the dealers to order this stuff. They're like, order it now, but don't tell anybody till like next month. And the dealer, like some employee at the dealer is like, just post it on his Facebook and then that gets out there and then it's out there. And next thing you know, everybody sees pictures. And I've had it where I'm like, people are like, have you seen the new, Purple Pumpkin guitar? And I'm like, I can't talk about it. And they're like, well, here's pictures of it and detailed information. And I'm like, oh, and then technically, even though you're giving me the information, I still can't tell anybody about it. So I try to stay away from them. Do my own. All right. So that's, I don't know. But thank you for the, Litvey, I really appreciate you at least giving the information. I think it was more for, me and good to know. Small YouTube channels usually don't have to worry about this stuff. This is from Al. He says, hey, I don't record. Okay, I don't record, and I plug into a Blues Junior. I think he's saying if he doesn't record and he plugs into a Blues Junior, will Tonex, HX Stomp, UA Deluxe, etc. modify the output of the amp to simulate the other amps? What? I have no idea. Why can I not understand what this is? You don't record, but if you plug into your Blues Junior, will the Tonex, HX Stomp, UA Deluxe, etc. modify the output of the amp to simulate other amps? I think the question you're giving me is like, can you use amp simulator type pedals to plug into your Blues Junior? Absolutely. You're a Blues Junior, you run it as flat as possible. Yeah, you absolutely can. It's up to you. Some people are going to say it's going to sound horrible. Some people are going to tell you it sounds fine. In my experience, I've had no problem with it. It's amps that are totally clean, like Fenders, like the Hot Rod Deluxe and the Blues Deluxe, although I wouldn't put them in the same, line as FR cabinets, if, for totally flat response cabinets. But yeah, totally fine with that. It's what I would plug into for sure. Yeah, absolutely. You could do that. No problem. If that's your question, which I think it was. Antique Rocker says hypothetical 3 case. What? Hypothetical 3 cases. Okay. We'll do one. No, guitarists just lost all their amps and effects. Okay. All right. So hypothetical. What should they spend with $2,000? Okay. Well, I thought we did this. Literally, Antique Rocker, I swear we did this question last week. Like literally last week. I almost feel like, I think I'm just going to do it. You got to go back to last week's question. Literally, this was a question we got last week. But he's got more information. He's saying one is a bedroom player, one's plays in a bar, and one's a studio musician. Again, I would stick with what I said before. I'm going to go with the same thing I said last week. Sounds like a cop-out. Let me chew on that one and see if I can come up with a better angle for it. And, yeah, let me do that. We have John. John says, hey, I got a new Warmoth neck for my Strat. Okay, it's not fitting in the socket. Is that what he's saying? It's fitting in the socket is tighter than the Fender neck. Should I be worried on how snug it is? Okay, cool. I'm on it with John. We're on the same page now. So John's question is, he got himself a new neck, and the neck is from Warmoth, and he's putting it in the pocket of the body, and it's really, really tight compared to the Fender one. That's good. Tighter is better. So it's fine. You're going to be fine. Concerns, the only concern would be on the thin little part on the upper bout of the horn. No, you're fine. I'm trying to think, like, there's no way. I mean, so yeah. Let's see. I'm sorry. It's so funny. Some of you guys' comments make me laugh. Okay. Let's do this. I actually have, it's good time. I'm going to do a guitar of the week thing. This was going to be fast. I just thought this is more of a share of the things, and let me go to it. I'll pull up the guitar and explain what it is, why we have it, and go here. I just want to pull up some of the logic behind it. So what do we have today? Today we have a Gibson. No, I'm just kidding. It's a Kiesel. It's a Kiesel. No, I'm just kidding. It's a Gibson. It's a Gibson ES339. Now here's what's interesting about this 339. I bought a 339 in 2015, and I really loved it. And for the life of me, and I mean it, I cannot remember or think of why I don't have it. Like, I have put hours into thinking, like, why did I get rid of that guitar? I absolutely loved it. I bought it. It was great. It felt great. It played great. I just don't remember. The only thing I can think of is sometimes, especially early on in the YouTube channel, I would sell a lot of stuff just to fund the channel. So I'm wondering, at some point I must have sold the 339 to fund the channel, because that sounds about right. If I bought it in 2015, about 2016 is when I'm like, okay, I'm going to start making videos. So I got rid of it. So what happened, funny enough, is during COVID, I bought a red ES339 on Reverb, and it was a absolutely horrible experience. And when I say horrible experience, it was just not fun. So what happened was, it was one of those purchases that I hope none of you have ever had on a used platform like Reverb or eBay. I have had this happen to me maybe once before in my entire life on these kind of platforms. And so therefore, it's not very common. But what happened was, this ES339 in red. I didn't really want red, but it was the right weight. It looked like it was in great condition. It was listed as being perfect condition. And the guitar shows up, and there's a massive dent in the back of the neck, like massive, just a big ding. And if you know anything about dents in guitars, you know that a fresh dent looks much different than a dent that's like 10 years old, because the way it ages in and the wood darkens and stuff. So this is an old dent. I go to the pictures on Reverb, and conveniently, there's no pictures of right there. Like, there's a down shot this way and an up shot this way, and there's just no pictures of that dent. And where my thumb slides on the neck, it's like, boom, it's like hitting a pothole. I was like, oh, I was so crushed. But what made it worse was that's when the guitar prices were high, and that ES339 was just already out of my comfort zone of what I wanted to pay for one of those. But I was like, I'm gonna do it, and I did it. So I reached out to the seller, and I said, hey, there's a dent on this. And if I recall correctly, they were very pleasant, and they basically said something to the effect of, oh yeah, my bad, but still mint. It's just that one, kind of thing. So basically that kind of like killed it for me. And then a while back, I saw this posted on Reverb, and this is not original one. Let's go back to the specs. Here's the important part, because this is one of the early ones where it actually has the Gibson custom shop. There you go. Oh, you know what? I'll do it this way. Let's go here. Look at that. So it's got one of the custom Gibson shop stickers on it. So this is back when Gibson was making these in their custom shop area. They stopped after a few years because it became more of a production guitar. So this one is, think about this. This one is 14 years old. It was listed as having some dings, some marks, some scratches. It looks perfect. Like they were just what we were talking about a couple weeks ago about how, some people like under promise, over deliver. Whoever listed this, they listed it as like, oh, it's got a couple issues. It looks like it's been sitting in a case this entire time. It came with the case. It's gorgeous. It was $900 less than I paid for the red one I got, because the prices had come down, and they were willing to negotiate with me, which was really great. It saved me a little bit more. The guitar is fantastic. They did put that it's basically like a case queen. It came with a certificate of authenticity. This one is 7 pounds, 4 ounces. So nice, right? Nice and light. And sounds fantastic. And this one also has, I believe, this one has 5708 pickups in it, if I recall correctly. Okay, so I thought I'd share it. I'm going to run, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to run through my Fender Princeton. So I'm running the 64 Princeton. This is definitely just for me. These are two things that I just enjoy, and I thought it'd be cool to share with you guys. Let me go back to the screen where I can see you guys. So I'm going to run the guitar. I'll switch angles here to the play cam. So that's my 64 Fender Princeton. I have pure nickel strings on this. So what I do a lot of times on guitars like this is I'll put pure nickel strings. So I have 10 to 46 pure nickel. Okay, let's go ahead. I'll just play something on the neck, and then I'll play something on the bridge. Here we go. middle position. So what's nice is, somebody asked, 57 classics or 57? It's 57 classics. I'm sorry. Did I say 57 weights? 57 classics is what I believe is in this the guitar in the pickups. Everything's original except for they did put some Dunlop strap locks on the guitar. This is essentially an ES335, just smaller. And it's funny because I'm a bigger guy. You'd think I'd want the bigger guitar, which is behind me, the ES335. I don't know why I can't do that. ES235, but kind of like the two Gretches behind you. I see, you see behind me. I have the junior and the full size. I kind of like the smaller body guitars. This to me has just this really cool mid-rangey thing going on that I really like, especially through the Princeton. I just really like how it grabs. The Princeton is kind of mid-scooped. So it's got a lot of warm bass and a lot of high for chime. And then this guitar just sits, this guitar to me is more nasal. And so it kind of just matches up with that amp. And when I got the 64 Princeton, for those some remember, when I did the Flaxwood guitar video, I had bought the 64 Princeton. And I just put it back in my head that I'm like, I wanted a ES339 again. And I just love it. You know, it's funny, this is one of those scenarios where that guitar through that amp and I'm like, I'm happy and I play all the time and I'm just super, calm and I enjoy it so much. But it's funny to me. It's like, I wonder all the time, just for those who are curious, to me, it's such a high dollar tag to put on something like this. I think, if I plugged the Epiphone version into a Blues Junior, I wonder like how much different of an experience is it, right? Maybe I need to do a video on that, comparing the two, but not like the Epiphone and the Blues Junior blow it away. It's because I don't think that's the case. I just wonder like how little you have to get, how much more money you guys spend to get the Gibson and the hand wired Princeton to get like just that little bit better than basically what a Blues Junior and an Epiphone give you. It's kind of funny. But I really enjoy it. And so I wanted to share that with you. I thought that was really cool. The funny part about this was, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Pickups? I thought we clarified it. But what's funny about it is I thought I'd share it. I've had it for a while. I showed it to you guys on a podcast a few months ago, maybe just briefly for a second. And then somebody sent me an email saying, hey, could you, hey, tell me what you like about it. I just love the way they play and sound. The funny thing is, and I've said this before, so it's just me rehashing it, but I don't know why, but I really love the Epiphone ES35 as much as I like the Gibson. Maybe the edge goes to the Gibson slightly, mostly probably for the pickups or something. But in the ES39, for some reason, I really like the Gibson one over the Epiphone. And so, just to show how picky this is, I like this model, the custom shop one, just because I like the neck. The neck is not super thin or super chunky. It's right in the middle. It's a sweet spot neck that I really love. I love that neck. And that's really what it comes down to. So there's the guitar of the week. Oh, and by the way, for those that want, here it is.
Now it's time for Guitar of the Week.
Look, I didn't even push the button. So it was good. All right. There's a couple of things that we're going to talk about, by the way, before we get back into subject and questions. I thought that was really cool. By the way, the guitar of the week is really, like I said, it's just a way for me to take a second, kind of talk about something else than answering and paying attention to subject and questions for you guys. Just give a second and hope you guys enjoy that. Somebody asked, early question came in, it was a really interesting one, and it talked about the fact that they wanted to know what I thought about the NAMM Show. And the NAMM Show has been an interesting topic because it's next week, and a lot of people have been asking. A lot of companies have been reaching out to me like, oh, are you going to be at the NAMM Show? Can we meet up? I'm not going to the NAMM Show. I have not been to the NAMM show since January of 2020, and I just don't know if I'll ever go to the NAMM show ever again. It's something, the problem I've had, and if you notice, like, it's also why you haven't seen me at a lot of the guitar events. Usually, every year or 2 years, you see me at one of these guitar YouTuber events. And it's just so you guys know, I have the real important answer for you guys to understand is I've worked really hard over the years based on your feedback to kind of create the videos I do now, the guitar, for lack of a better term, deep dive videos, going through the guitar in such detail that it's almost impossible to bring that kind of level of quality to you guys when I'm mobile. As you guys know, I had to go back at Sweetwater and do it in the middle of the night, because while the YouTubers running around, I couldn't do it. I need intimate time with the guitar. That's the way I like to be now. I've come, it's probably not great for the YouTube career because, as you know, it's probably a lot easier and a lot better for me to run around the NAMM show and be like, this is the new thing, buy it. This is the new thing, buy it. This is a better new thing, go buy that. And I get lots of clicks and do the booth thing. And maybe that's better for me. But I decided, instead of taking the money, because the NAMM show cost me money, we took the money and we invested it into a better strategy. And I'm really happy with what we did with our time and money. I'm super excited. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I feel like that's the jinx, right? If I do it, then something will happen. But I'm sure you'll notice this week when NAMM show happens, what we did with our money instead of spending it to the NAMM show. And so, just for the reference, because I don't want my wife to be like, what? Why did you tell him that? When I say took our money from the NAMM show, what we spent cost 3 times what the NAMM show would have cost us. So we spent a lot more than the NAMM show, but still, it was where the NAMM show money would have gone. Couple things. Also, too, you got to understand the NAMM show, I think, is more of a trade show, obviously. And yeah, it's to see the hottest new gear. But the reality is, you see the gear on videos now. And to be honest with you, having these YouTubers that are getting early access to the gear and getting their videos out, you should watch those way more than the NAMM show. The NAMM's loud. People aren't very versed in the the gear. And to me, it's just not a great, look. Plus, think about this. I just found out the other day, I guess, through two sources, that Fender and Gibson and possibly PRS, but definitely Fender and Gibson's booths, that the NAMM was so importantly telling us, like, Fender and Gibson are back. Remember? Fender and Gibson are back. That's not even open to the public. I guess Fender and Gibson's booths are just for the dealers and they're private and they're not for the public. So I'm just telling you that because I don't want to give this speech of like, the NAMM's old, it's outdated, it's over. It has nothing to do with the NAMM. There's things I think of about the NAMM, but the reality is me not going to the NAMM has to do with me and not the NAMM. So, what we're putting our efforts into is more factory tours. Hopefully we're going to be doing 2 epic tours this year. Hopefully we're working on both. They're both very tricky to get done. I think that's better. I want to do something that I can bring to you guys that not no one else can bring, but just involves you guys. So, but that being said, we got to talk about some of the cool stuff that's happening at the NAMM that is going to be cool. So the first thing is a lot of products have been released. PRS released some new products, and including their new pickups, which were a little much for, as we talk about, the pickups are not magic, they're math, but remember PRS definitely thinks they're magic, but that's okay. That's okay. Right? Who are we to yuck their yum, so to speak? Let's take a look at this products. So if you haven't seen, PRS has new core guitars. I'm going to share a lot of stuff, not just PRS, okay? PRS. But I really want to talk about the new PRS pickups because, so PRS is, that's the McCarty. So McCarty's got new pickups. Do these guitars have the new pickups? These do. Can we see a front shot of these pickups? So the new pickups that PRS is now making is called the DMO. And then the B and the T. So bass, this is bass. That's what they call their neck pickup. Treble is what they call the bridge pickup. They're DMO. What does DMO stand for? I gotta look again because it cracks me up. It's a name only PRS could come up with. You gotta give them credit. DMO, come on. What does the DMO stand for? Okay, hold on. I gotta Give me a second. We're going to look it up. If anyone has the name, if anyone remembers what the acronym means, DMO PRS Pickups. It's funny, my mic is on top of my keyboard, like over it. Okay. Behind the scenes, DMO, the new DMO, 40th anniversary, DMO, come on. DMO Pickups. Dynamic. Okay, ready? Somebody probably already put in the comments. DMO Pickups now stands for Dynamic Musical Open. What the hell? I can't even stop laughing. I'm sorry. Look, I watched a video today of them comparing them to the 8515s. To me, they sounded better. They did. They sounded better. I'm sure PRS has improved the pickups. Of course, they can. They're really good at consistently making consistently good pickups and voicing them better. They know how to improve their pickups. But the acronym just, I could not stop laughing, and I laughed even harder just now. These are the new pickups they're going with. These are the pickups that they claim, Paul Reed Smith claims, is better than any vintage pickup before. And basically this is like the most musical pickup hey, the word musical's in them, right? It's literally dynamic. I'll tell you one thing. When I was listening to them, I'll tell you seriously, no jokes. Okay. I was listening to a music store today review them, and I was listening, and I kept thinking, like, these pickups had a really I would say like a dynamic sound, but then like kind of like a musical sound, but they were also kind of open. And I'm just kidding. Anyways, I know I'm busting their chops, but you know what? He made a horse mate pedal. He's this is the thing. I almost feel like, and I have felt like this since, not the horse meat pedal, but before that PRS, who I think is a master company at social media marketing, okay? Where PRS was way on social media, way before, and when I mean on it, I mean figured it out way before Josh Scott ever did, before, Kiesel did, before any of those guys did. PRS really was one of the first adopters of social media, not only working with the YouTubers and trying to figure out, but also creating the things, right? Like Gibson only has one way to get on the social media radar, which is to do something horrible to another company. Like that always seems to be like, that's the subject matter that we're just going to constantly bring up with Gibson. It's like, oh, what did they do this week to somebody? And that's their talking point. But PRS can get, not only enrage the chats at night, but get the YouTube channels and to influencers, whatever you want to call them, to talk about him all the time, his product. It is like the best guerrilla marketing strategies I've seen. And so I say that because when I read this dynamic musical open pickups concept, the concept sounds fine. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. The idea that they revoice their pickups to be more in line with their guitars and have their guitars have more of a definitive sound. Sure, of course, that makes total sense. By the way, so does Fender do that, and so does Gibson, and so does tons of other companies do that. They come up with new pickups that they think sound better with their guitars. That's totally great. And yeah, you do want to put a marketing angle on that, of course. But not only a marketing angle, but PRS has always figured out a way, like, I could not talk about this. It was so crazy, right? It was so crazy. I'm like, well, we got to talk about that. So you got to know the dynamic I get, because pickups have dynamics, and musical, of course. What a great marketing way to attach, right? That's like attaching flavorful to your food. We came up with a new food. It's very flavorful. And you're like, that's great. I love flavor. Right? You're like, what do these pickups sound like? They're musical. I love things that are musical, right? The open is the one that's weird for me. It's like, an open. I'm like, oh, an open. It's an open sound. I guess that's a term we use. It's good. But interesting. So basically, PRS brought back some stuff. The big discussion point with the PRS guitars, we're not going to go through everybody because I want to hit other brands too. The big discussion point for PRS's new lineup is that they came out with this satin finish core guitar. And a lot of cool things about it. Obviously, this has the DMO pickups. I'm just going to keep saying it. Dynamic musical open pickups. By the way, if anyone at PRS sees this video and isn't too pissed off to talk to me again, if you send me a set of DMO pickups, I would be more than willing to. Oh, especially if you send me a set of 8515s. Like send me. I mean, I could probably figure it out, but it'd be really nice. I would do a video, like just compare the two. I'm curious outside of your guitars. Put them in one of my, my guitars and just do an A/B comparison. I'd be curious. I'd give an honest response to it, And if you didn't want me to keep the pickups, I'd do a giveaway or something like that. But yeah. Anyways, back to the their new lineup. Okay, so the big deal is the satin finish, and of course, it's really smart. They're like, hey. The SEs were a big deal with the satin finish. My only thing on this, by the way, is I think they look great. You see the colors they came in. They got the red. Let's see. They got the blue. So this blue looks nicer though than the SE blue that I have. They got black, but it's pearl black, and then they got the white, which the white looks good, right? Looks good. I wish they would have done like the dog hair ones. If you guys don't know what that is, that would have like the silvery white in this, and then this one have the black streaks in it. The only critique I have that's negative about this guitar is I have not seen the price. And, my brain is like, I see this guitar and I see $19.99. And I'm curious if anyone knows the price. If you would definitely put it in the comments, I would love to know if anyone's found it. I didn't look super hard, but I was out there looking because my guess is $3,500. That's my guess. And I bet that could be low. I mean, it could be high. So somebody said 35. William, you said $3,500. Is that the real? Oh my God, did I nail it? You guys said it's $3,500. I nailed it. By the way, if I nailed it, because you guys are saying $3,500 is the right number, you know how I came up with that number? I thought, what's ridiculous at $500? $3,000. Like I said, it should be like $2,000. $3,000 is ridiculous, then $500, $3,500. But here's the deal. I also know that, I mean, if you're buying a Core Custom 24 at $4,000 is the minimum, $4,200, $4,600 is the minimum you're going to buy one now for. So of course it couldn't be, $2,000. It's not gonna be half just for satin finish. But it's cool. It's really cool. I like it. I mean, I would be a buyer. It's one of those things where unfortunately, it's just my logic is as much as I like it, and I actually could see myself enjoying it more than any other PRS. It's like, I don't know, for $500 to $1,000 more, I could get the, a fancy finish. And I just feel like, I don't know, it's tough. But yeah, $3,500. So really cool. But I can see why people are excited. And then Southpaw 07 says they have a CE version. So that's a USA built one, bolt-on neck, and that's 22. That is really cool. That seems pretty cool. So really cool. But like I said, I mean, it was a smart move. It's the guitar I would have suggested if they were going to check out things, like, because that guitar was really impressive as an SE. And the only other thing that was weird to talk about with them is that my buddy reached out to me and said, "Did you notice like the absence of single cuts is gone?" And I was like, yeah, if you look at the single cut cores, now if you go in SEs, you're going to see single cuts in the SEs, but like here's the Tremonti, this is a single cut. Okay. And then here's where it gets a little tricky, right? They already had phased out the hollow body single cut because I have a hollow body single cut and they don't make that anymore. And the McCarty's, no single cut for the McCarty's. And wait, does that mean the 594 is gone? No, there's a 594. So no single cut 594. So that's what I think so if this website is accurate, which it looks accurate, like I don't think they're, keeping off menu items. I think everything on with them is on menu. In other words, if it's not on their website, they don't currently have it in their lineup. There's only, if you want a single cut PRS in a Core, the Tremonti is the only one they sell. And that one has a pattern thin neck. The Tremonti, pattern thin neck, and then a tremolo. So it's not even like, so really strange. Anyways, buddy told me about that. Another buddy of mine, who I sent a reference to him, said he had heard that sales were just not that great on the single cuts for them. So they just phased them out. For the record, just so there's no confusion, in the S2 lineup, they still make a 594 single cut, although it looks like, yep. And then that's it. So in the S2s, there's one single cut. And then on SEs, there's a couple single cuts. I think there's a 594 and there's a Zach Myers. So little thing. So we spent a lot of time on PRS, more than I thought we were going to do. But let's go to another cool product launch. I'm not going to do the Ibanez stuff. A lot of you guys saw the Ibanez stuff. Something else I saw that was really cool as a product launch for the NAMM Show was the new MXR pedal that's essentially, let's see, MXR new pedal. Okay. And let's do this. I had some of this queued up. Now it's missing. Okay, here it is. Here it is. We'll use, oh, that's the blurry one. We'll use guitar. Oh, they're using the same one. Okay, let's go here. So this is Guitar World. However, they have a new high def picture of this. It's essentially the Rockman, the chorus section out of the Rockman. So if you guys ever wanted the Def Leppard Rockman sound, this doesn't have the delay. It doesn't have any other functions. It's just the chorus. But keep in mind, that's basically what everybody was using. So MXR is really smart. You know, I think of RJ Rinquillo. I should get credit for this. You know, it's funny. Like literally, he did a video that sold way too many Rockmans. He did a video and literally made the Rockman sound amazing. If you guys, I'll put a timestamp. I'll put a link to RJ's video. It was amazing. Trust me, he almost got me too. I was like, nah, that thing wasn't that great. It did chorus, but you could get some other chorus from a lot of units. But it was, I mean, he sounded so good. It sounded so good. And of course, it was on the Def Leppard album. So anyways, but here's the thing. This is something like I'm a kind of like I don't use chorus a lot, but if I was going to use one chorus pedal, just the cool vibe of this is cool. Let's see if there's, oh, you know what I didn't look for? This. There you go. There you go. Now, let me show you this, and then I got to give you a disclaimer because of something I saw. So this is the non-blur version. So this is the Rockman X100. So it's got the two sliders and it's got a little selector knob and stuff. So this is the legendary Rockman is back. So this was posted on guitarbomb.com to give them credit because that's where I'm sourcing this from. So that looks really good. I don't really care what the price is. I can't imagine they could get more than $200 for this thing. So pretty cool. So that's a cool thing to know. But the one thing that I do need to point out, because again, I have to think about all the people who are going to put comments like, Phil, I can't believe you mentioned that and didn't mention this. There's another company, this company right here, that makes a version of that thing, but with everything it looks like. It's got the preamp, the comp, the gate, the phase, right? Something like that. I believe that's the comp. And this might be not the only one but I saw some people mentioning it. I just like to point out that I think, again, kind of like with PRS's marketing, I think it was smart, right? They know that the Rockman's been hyped, and obviously we're all like, you know, we think it's cool. And to me, having it on a foot pedal is just even cooler. And the fact that what they did right is they got the look right. Because like, you know, you put that on your pedal board and you're gonna look down and go, yeah, it's the Rockman Chorus. So that was really cool. I thought that was really cool. If you guys didn't see, Synergy released a new amp, which is cool. So Synergy has a new 20-watt head that takes one module, and it's a toaster amp. When I mean toaster is small. So if we go to the Synergy Synergy 20, and here's why I want you to be aware of this amp. Synergy 20-watt head. I'm sure the internet has an image because it always seems to have an image. I found them easily online. Let's see. And then, of course, now I can't find it. But what's important about this amp? That's funny. Nope. Okay. So I would have swore I could have found a picture earlier of it. So I apologize if I can't find it. But the Synergy amp is essentially oh, here it is. I knew I could find it. Give it a second. It's on. Here we go. So this is the new Synergy amp. And what's cool about this is it's a 20-watt head. It has IRs, impulse responses. You can see right here. You can look in the back. You can It's got an effects loop. It's got a headphone out. And like I said, this is USB, so you can put in your own impulse responses, and you load in your module. Now, what's really cool about this is it's a 3-channel amp, because remember, the module has 2 channels, and then this has a clean channel. So it has a really nice clean channel that has like a chimey kind of Fender clean. Why this is important is this amp is $1,000 street price, okay? But a module's $400. Okay, so it's $1,400. But let me give you a great argument. And I was thinking about this when discussing with a friend the other night. If you got this Synergy head and like a Friedman module, whether you got the Dirty Shirley or you get the small, not small box, the Dirty Shirley, or you get the BE loaded in, that's actually cooler, in my opinion, than what Friedman's currently making. So if you think about the Friedman, like the Jerry Cantrell or the Runt or the PT 20, or even the Dirty Shirley Mini, I mean, essentially that gives you, like, some of those amps, like the PT and the Dirty Shirley, gives you 1 channel, and then the Runt and the JJ Junior, they give you essentially 2 channels. They give you a clean channel that's okay, and then they give you the main channel. So if you get this and load in a Friedman module, you have a Friedman amp, because Friedman designed the preamp and the Synergy, and then you get a good clean channel. So and you get impulse responses, and so and it's the same price. It's $1,500, like 14 actually. It's less, so it's $1,400. So it's pretty cool. And of course, you could put you could get the Saldano module and load that in, right? Now, where this amp goes awry is, then if you start buying modules every month, you have 20 modules. Well, yeah, now you've spent a lot of money, because now you're going to have, another $1,600 in modules or whatever. But if you want to get 1 or 2 modules, it's really cool. It's a really cool idea. So small amp, that's made in the USA. So, they make it in their facility in California. So that's another cool thing. So made in the USA, and for $1,400 for that and a module, okay? Or you can get used modules. So I'm very excited about that. So I thought that was really cool. What else did you guys see? Let me know in the comments what you guys saw. I mean, I saw the new Ibanez stuff. That looked pretty cool. I saw this, somebody mentioned earlier that Boss has a new Waza like attenuator. That looked pretty cool. I've never tried their other one. So I never tried the bigger one. Now this one seems like a smaller streamed down version. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff. I'm trying to think what else I saw. A lot of cool other gear coming out. Really cool. I'm wondering if Line 6 has something new coming out, because I saw, if you guys didn't see, if you guys are looking for a deal, fortunately, I don't have an affiliate link for this, because I'm like, that would be helpful. But if you go on Reverb and type in Line 6 Catalyst amp 100, let me find it. There it is. I'll share with you guys right now. Check this out. If you go to reverb.com, you'll see that the Line 6 is 50% off. It was $399 to $199, and this is direct from Line 6 from Calabasas, California. So anybody been thinking about getting the 100? This is the 100 watt. This is the nicer version than the 60 watt, and it has a couple more features, because I think over the 60 watt. So 112, 100 watt catalyst for $200. Just to give you a reference, I saw a few people selling a catalyst for used for $200, but most used ones were going for more than that. And I can imagine once they do this blowout, it'll go back to, the normal used pricing. But my guess is they're blowing those out because something's new. I don't know, but maybe check those out if you're interested. I really like that amp. Okay. All right. What else? And then, since we were all talking about new gear and the NAMM, somebody asked me if they, somebody was talking about the fires. A viewer sent me an email saying, hey, do you think the fire is going to affect the NAMM show? It's definitely affecting the NAMM show. Companies like Maybach and a couple others had made choices. I don't know if that's specifically because of the fires, but they made choices not to go to the NAMM show last minute. A couple companies that I do know also are not going, and a couple of friends are not going because of the fires. or something related to the fires, right? And for the record, so you guys know, for those that are going to put comments in the sections, because as everybody always says, like, oh, the fire's not even by them and stuff. One of my friends is not going because of a health reason. He's like, he has lung issues, and he's like, I don't know if the stuff in the air was going to be a problem for him, and he's like, this is not important enough for me to take a chance on that. I understand that. I get that. But anyways, my point is that, yes, I would imagine some people are going to stay home from the NAMM show, especially if you're going great distance, because it's all unresolved. And my hearts go out to all the people in California, and it's a big mess. And you guys know, if you're a diehard viewer of this podcast, you know that in 2022 in November, my wife and I had our honeymoon. Literally, we never had a honeymoon before. We went on our honeymoon. And we went to Hawaii, and we went after the fires there, and we waited we waited till everybody said it was fine to go, and we went, and it's a weird feeling to go to a place where stuff like this happened. You don't want to be a problem, but you don't want to So I'm just telling you, we had a great time. It was amazing. It's a moment that I'll cherish for the rest of my life, and my wife too. But I'll just share this just so you guys understand where I'm coming from mentally. I have so many great memories from that vacation. It was the longest vacation I ever took in my life. It was 8-9 days. I'd never taken a vacation that long, neither my wife. So an 8-9 day vacation in Hawaii was like an amazing experience. But I also think of all those fond memories. I also think about my wife. She was like we were at a shop buying products, and like her and the clerk were crying because of, the devastation and stuff. They're just crying because the clerk broke down and my wife broke down. And, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in when this stuff happens. The reality of this is, and I don't want to go on a tirade about this because it's a guitar channel, but the reality of this is always remember people. It's easy. It's not that hard. When devastation happens, just focus on people, not anything else. Because it's people, and anybody can be a jerk to an idea, but when you're looking somebody in the face that's gone through tragedy, you realize real fast again it's people. So I'm just saying. So I feel for everybody, and yeah, I think we'll have some effect on the NAMM show, but I think ultimately it looks like it's going to be a success. I don't know. So yeah. So let's go on to another subject. Let's go on to guitar-related subjects now that we've covered the NAMM. At least I feel like we covered the NAMM. Unless anyone else had any subjects or thoughts on the NAMM show. And let me do this, because Amanda's sending me stuff too. Let me grab this. Okay, this one is from Michael. Amanda sent me this. It says, Michael says, any suggestions under $1,000 for most maintenance-free, bulletproof, easy to set up guitar? I was thinking Yamaha Revstar RSS 2T. Here's what I will tell you for the things. Brands are great. So Yamaha's a trusted brand, sure, of course. Schecter guitars, right? There's always the golden ones. Like for the most part, Fender is a great guitar for low maintenance stuff. But feature-wise, I'd like to talk about features. Feature-wise, definitely a spoke wheel truss rod. If you guys don't know what that is, I'll show you. Hold on, let me grab one. So this is a Music Man Petrucci 7-string, but this here is a spoke wheel truss rod adjustment. You can see this little wheel underneath the neck where it meets the body. You don't need anything but the little metal stick that comes with it, and you just turn it. And if you turn it too far, then you've gone too far, and then you just turn it back. And if you turn it the other way and it's too tight, then you loosen it back up. You can't strip it. You can't break it. I say can't. I mean, yeah, you can, but you really weren't paying attention. It's pretty straightforward, right? When it feels a little loose, then it's loose. And when it feels a little tight, it's tight, and you just kind of go. That's an easy adjustment. Stainless steel frets on guitars, as long as they come from the factory polished and good. Again, 0 to no maintenance on that. And tremolo hardtail, of course, hardtail is no maintenance, and a tremolo that's really quality is low maintenance. But to me, if you get a guitar that has a spoke wheel style truss rod, a stainless steel frets, and a quality neck, in other words, made of a quality material, like it doesn't have to be courtesan, but just a good quality neck from a brand you trust. That's a pretty much zero maintenance guitar. That's a guitar that should last forever. Worst thing that happened to you, which is output jacks. As I point to where there's differently, for some reason, no output jacks there. Let me put this here on the stand. Okay. Those things definitely, those features definitely make a guitar last a long time and have zero to no maintenance. I would argue that if, besides fret sprout, which is always a potential issue, besides that, and possibly an output jack, because it's a wearable part like tires on a car, if you get a guitar with stainless steel frets and a truss rod that you can adjust very easily yourself, and something like a hardtail, there's no reason you should ever have to take it in for maintenance. You should be able to maintain it all yourself. And if you can't most anything that goes wrong with it, you should be able to learn to do it yourself and maintain it. Pal Effects, what's up, Pedal Pal? How's it going, guys? He says, hey, Phil, happy Friday. What is your favorite 10-inch Celestion speaker? It's the Creamback. In order, Creamback. For me personally, I'm not a big Jensen fan, although I have 10-inch Jensens in my Princeton because that's what it came with, and I just like traditionally it's great. But I'm talking about, you're asking like my favorite speaker. I'm not going to change the speaker because the amp sounds great. But if I was going to get a speaker, I like the 10-inch Creamback Celestion. And I like the blue Alnico Celestion in 10-inch and the gold Alnico Celestion in 10-inch. Those are my three favorite. There's so many, though, that are great. Somebody right now is going to be like, don't forget warehouse speakers. All that stuff. Great. But, those three. Like if I'm buying a speaker, a 10-inch speaker, those are the three I'm buying. One of those three. Probably in order, just because of pricing and use. Creamback, super easy for the Creamback to sound good in a 10-inch. And then after that, probably the gold Alnico. And then after that, the blue Alnico. And only because the gold will take a little bit more abuse. And I kind of like that. But that's my go-tos. And I'd also think, for me personally, I think of the Creamback as more modern. And then the Alnico is more vintage vibe. And obviously they're both kind of old and new in a way. But sound-wise, like I said, what sound you're going for. That'd be my thoughts. So, yeah, Chris says, hey, that Hawaii trip was in 2022. It doesn't seem that long ago. Yeah, we got the Spark video. Yeah, I know. I was thinking that the other day too when I was thinking about it. I thought it was last year, but it was not. Amanda just became a member. Okay. And says, she just wanted to be highlighted. Amanda, you're always highlighted. I'll tell you what. You're always highlighted. I wish I could get the moderators like highlighted as well too. We're working on stuff, but thank you. Amanda is a very hardworking individual. Not only for me, she's out there helping so many channels. I think a lot of you guys know that she really, really loves the community and puts a lot of effort and time into this community. And that is, it's impressive. It's an impressive thing because I don't think you guys could understand, and nor does it matter that you do, I guess. But moderators are a big part of these channels. They're a big part. It's huge. It's not just like taking out the guy who's just a little abusive or whatever, a little crazy and posting things, or the scammy things the bots came in. They got to clear that stuff too. You got to understand the information that you get later when they're like, hey, this happened, just so you guys know that, or they're highlighting or recognizing you, the notes that you can get. Sometimes like, hey, you missed somebody mentioning this. All that stuff is really, really important. So I really appreciate them as I hope you guys do as well. Larry says he doesn't know if I'm saying creamback or greenback because I'm saying it fast. It's creamback, like whip cream, like whoop cream, not whip, whoop cream. In fact, I have a new speaker coming out called the Whoop Creamback. If I could have a custom speaker make, I would absolutely call it the Whoop Cream speaker. Okay. So let's see. Peter says, so basically a secretary. Interesting you put it that way. I would say more like a bouncer, a mediator, and a project manager. Like that way. And I mean that wholeheartedly. That would be the jobs. It's a hard job, man. So you guys know, on a side note, and then I'll just make this fast and easy. The moderators are super nice, and especially Amanda. If Amanda was in charge of, of blocking any of people who are inappropriate or doing things, she would probably do nobody, because she's like, no, I'm, so, I 100%, I'm the one afterwards on the show is like, no, if that's their behavior. I believe, I don't care what anybody says. I believe in a code of conduct. The gym, you go to the gym, anybody goes to a gym knows, like, there's a code of conduct. You can't walk around the gym naked. You just can't. Okay. It's not freedom of speech. It's not a freedom to express yourself. It's the gym. We're here all together, and we have to be together. We have to learn together. We have to have fun together. And, so no, if somebody can't, basically, act right, and they got to go. So, it's a hard job because I'm not unaware of the fact that the moderators get the hell for that. They kick somebody because basically I or another channel tells them to, and then that person just hates the moderator. So, which is not fair, but it's like, I can't kick them because I'm talking. So they have to do the dirty work. So they do the dirty work. They're the bouncers. And Brian's right. This is a fully closed chat. Yes. Yes. All right. Let's go to another topic. All right. And I haven't forgot you, Antique Rocker, by the way. I'm still going to figure that out. This is Dr. I've just butchered this name. I'm going to say Dr. Mab. You're Dr. Mab right now for me. It says, I had 4 listings sit for 4 months with just lowball offers. Now 3 of them sold in 2 days this week for nearly what I asked. Is the market rebounding? Well, it's not that it's rebounding. Well, again, who the hell knows, right? I don't know. But I'm just saying, it could be. Yeah, it could be rebounding. But I actually also think that, remember, people we're all going through a purging. There's a lot of people selling. And when people purge, this is the important part. Think about it like a gear addict, right? Let's just pretend that a lot of you have an issue with gear. Let's just say, theory, that you guys have a problem with gear. It's hard to buy gear when you're trying to get rid of gear. And not only just financially, right? Because obviously you need to free up the cash to do it. But it's hard to justify, like, if I have like 3 or 4 guitars I'm trying to get rid of because I'm like, okay, it's time to downsize a little bit of stuff, or this stuff needs to find a new owner, and then I see something I'm in love with, it's hard to go, oh, I should get that. I'm like, well, wait, I'm trying to get rid of stuff. How can I buy stuff, right? And so I think that's what happened. So when a lot of people were purging, and I think that purge will continue for a little while, but I think most people got to thin the herd, so to speak. So yeah. So that would explain why. I got to tell you, I just sold a bunch of gear, and I sold way more than I thought, faster than I thought. I was putting it out there as a tease, like, hey, I'm going to sell this in a month or so. And then I sold so much. I was like, oh crap, I wasn't ready to do that. I thought, like you, it was going to take a couple months, and it went a little bit more aggressively than I thought. So that's good. That means I probably set the prices at a great price for them. And also just means, again, people are buying gear. I mean, Joseph says, hey, Phil, would you rather choose 4 Gibson Les Paul tributes, 2 Gibson Les Paul standards, or 1 Gibson Les Paul custom shop? I would like 1 Gibson Les Paul. I would like 1 Gibson Les Paul that doesn't weigh a lot. That's it. I sold one of my Gibsons recently, so now I'm down to 2 Gibson. I'm down to 3 Gibson Les Pauls, but I have one on the chopping block. I'm going to be getting rid of my Gibson R9. So I'm keeping my Gibson Classic, which essentially is a model below the Tribute, because I absolutely love it. And when I say love it, I love the way it plays. I love the way it feels. I love the way it looks. I'm not in love with the pickups. I don't know why, and I've been trying. So I think I have something that's going to fix that. Excuse me. And then that will be a main guitar for me. And then I have a Gibson RO, although every time I say RO, somebody goes, you mean R0? Yeah, the R0, the RO, what do you want to call it? And it's 7 pounds, 4 ounces, super light. And those are the 2 I'm going to keep as my Gibson Les Pauls. But I should have just stopped at the Classic. So the answer to your question, I like 1 Gibson Les Paul that's light. So same with Strats. I'm down to 2 Strats. I mean, I have one on the chopping block, but I mean, I have two Strats. I think two Strats is not enough for me. One Les Paul's enough for me. You know, I kind of like having a different variety of guitars to play, since I play pretty much the same 2 or 3 all the time. I like to pull in something different every once in a while, and having replicas of the same guitar doesn't work for me, because then it's just I'm randomly grabbing one. Mike says, hey Phil, I saw your review of the Blues Breaker pedal. I was traveling, found one used at Guitar Center and bought it. Great pedal, makes the Rivera sound like a Marshall even at low volume. It's a fantastic pedal. I have it on the board right there below me. The Blues Breaker, I hope a lot of you guys jumped on that. So you guys, looks like to me, if you saw Marshall put out a teaser, they're going to be releasing a new line of pedals. And that would probably explain why everybody was blowing out these pedals. And that Blues Breaker, I think the Blues Breaker was the star of the show of those pedals. So if you, I bought a what's the driver pedal? The red one? What's it called? No Moss. I don't love that one. That's essentially the Governor. It's all right. I got that one. The Shredmaster is cool. It's fun. I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to keep that one. And then the Blues Breaker though is the star of the show for that. So, and for those that like the Marshall Blues, and for me, I know there's a lot of companies that make a Blues Breaker style pedal. I just like the way the Marshall one looks because it's the original. Looks cool. Patrick says, hey, why do you think the Steinberger trans trim never really caught on? I figure with all the down tuning these days, it would be very appealing. Well, Steinberger is another brand that I would say is, it was transferred, right? So you had Ned Steinberger, who's essentially a genius, who's created so many stuff. He's like literally, he's up there with in the top 10, designers in the guitar industry for coming up with the craziest and the best ideas. Not only for Steinberger stuff. I mean, he's done stuff for so many companies, right? And design stuff. And the Steinberger guitars, we know what the problem with the Steinberger guitars are. Same problem with the Strandberg guitars are. Same problem with the Kiesel headless guitars and the Ormsby headless guitars. And it's that, hey, think of this. I know because I do a video of a headless guitar. It's like half the comments are like, that thing is ugly. I would never play that. So that's the problem. Headless guitars are going to always have a problem with the fact that the majority of guitar players just don't love them. What I've seen now is younger players are adopting the headless guitars for sure. And maybe that will change. And, generationally, maybe there'll be some people to go for it. But, the reality is the reality is that then now Steinberger is essentially a Gibson product. And Gibson is no different than Fender when it comes to, they focus on Gibson and then they focus on Epiphone. And then if you're lucky, they think about Kramer for a minute. And then after that, there's, Steinberger, to the point that most people don't even know Steinberger is owned by Gibson. Think about that, right? So there's not a whole lot of effort put into it. So I think, I don't think it was the trim that was the issue. I think it was the headless guitars. And I have no interest in a Steinberger headless guitar for me personally, because my opinion, I think the Kiesel makes the best headless guitars. I just love them. Everyone I've played is really cool. And the one I play the most is the Delos. And then after that, I play the Tim Miller. And then after that, I play that is the new one that I just got shipped to me that I'm checking out. And I just like them because it's like, pretty cool. Funny story, haha story. The Kiesel headless Delos is the guitar that I think that, again, I would say absolutely without doubt, in my opinion, allegedly, whatever the thing that gets me out of the legality issues. In my personal opinion, the Kiesel Delos is a funny guitar because if Fender would just make a headless guitar, it would make the Delos useless. And this is the same story that I think about Friedman. If Marshall made one Friedman copy, it would be the end of Friedman, right? Not really the end, but you understand. Not like it would destroy the company, but it would just be the biggest problem they have to deal with, which is if Marshall could make an amp that sounds like a Friedman, a modified Marshall that sounds good at low volumes like the Friedmans do and sound great in loud volumes too, essentially that would be a problem for the Friedman guys because they're just so small compared to Marshall. Same thing with Kiesel. If Fender made a headless Strat, like I said, $799 made in Mexico, something like that, $899, it would be hell for Kiesel. So you funny story. This is why I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to share this great story with you. I told this to Jeff Kiesel. I mentioned this to him. I go, same thing I told Dave Friedman. I said, you're 1 amp away from Marshall just taking you out. And then I remember Dave Friedman was like, yep. And I said, yeah. I go, and he goes, well, thank goodness they don't do it. I don't actually, he goes, I think he said, but they're not going to do it. I said, yeah, I don't think they are either. The funny part with the Kiesel, I said to Jeff Kiesel, same story. I said, yeah, if Fender ever made a headless Strat, it would be like the end of the Delos, right? Headless guitar. And then Jeff Kiesel goes, yep. Good thing I trademarked and patented it. He goes, so that's kind of funny. So if you're not aware, funny little tidbits that know about Kiesel. He trademarked and owns the name Vader, like Star Wars Vader and Leia and Solo and stuff on guitars. How that got through Disney, I have no idea. But so, like, if Disney tried to make a Vader guitar, he's got a trademark on that. So I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm saying there's a fight, there's a problem. But the funny thing about it is when he made the Delos headless body, he trademarked it. And so it would be a little bit of a problem for Fender. So interesting. I don't know. But the good news is half you guys hate headless guitars. So you guys hated that entire section. All right. Back to another subject. Okay, so Mr. S says, I want to say, Thomas just wanted to say rad channel. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. You're too kind, actually. But I appreciate that. It's nice to get the champion stuff, and say something nice. I'm excited about the new videos that are coming out and the new changes to the geeky stuff videos. And hopefully you'll say rad channel even louder when you see the change. Don't think major change, but enough of a change. I think it's going to be cooler for sure. Mr. S says, hey, Texas Toast, Dunnable, Earthquaker are having an offsite show during NAMM called Wood Wire Volts. Gonna check it out. TGIF. They're not the only ones. There's tons of companies doing stuff offsite around NAMM Show. There's a lot of companies that are going to the NAMM Show, but not going in the NAMM Show is the best way I put it. I would say a lot. Some for the cost, but a lot of them just like they don't see the purpose. They don't do dealers and stuff. So they're like, if you're a direct consumer, I don't know what really the NAMM Show would bring to you at this point, but who knows? Alex says, hey, so many boutique pickup vendors. There are. Yep. Are there really enough components that are the sound enough to justify that? I'm surprised how many are there. So I would say, Alex, the best way I could ever say it, and keep in mind, I'm biased because I make pickups. So I'm going to go, of course, there's so many different ways you do this thing, the same thing. Here's what I will say. I could say the same thing about barbecue sauce. Yeah, I don't know. This is maybe the wrong analogy, but it's the one I like. Man, you ever go to Tennessee and have Tennessee barbecue and then go to Texas and have Texas barbecue? You ever go to places where they have barbecue and everywhere you go to barbecue, you're like, it's just going to be barbecue, but it is amazing. And the differences are ever so slight, but man, the more vinegar sauce, the more sweet sauce, the spicy sauce, right? The way the brisket's made, the way it's the same. It's meat and tomato paste and spice and sugar and molasses and vinegar. Like it's just ingredients. So that argument, I understand your argument, but I would say, and this has nothing to do with pickups at this point. We could say pedals and guitars. When you're talking about a formula or ingredients and a way to make something, yeah, people can variate it ever so slightly. And that could be the difference between night and day. However, generally, if somebody told me I had 10 different kind of barbecues from across the country, and I thought they all kind of taste the same, and I didn't like them, I go like, yeah, I can understand that too. So there's always a little bit of that. What I will say is this, when it comes to pickups, it's what they're after. Some are after the formula, so the design. In other words, how is just formula, like the recipe. The recipe dictates the quality. Some pickup manufacturers, whether they're small or big, are after the ingredients. In other words, the components. So you could say that same logic for anything. Some chefs are going to say the ingredients are the heart of how good some food is. And some chefs are going to say, no, it's how they're put together. So there is a slight variance. The reality is this. There is very little difference. Like I use this all the time when Taylor Cox from Amplified Nation was on the podcast. My favorite thing he said ever, in fact, favorite thing anyone ever said on this entire channel, I said, if every Dumble amp was made specifically for an artist and every one of them's different, how can there be a Dumble sound? And his answer, and I have a YouTube short of it, I'll put it here so you can see the actual answer. Mine's just going to be an interpretation of the answer, was, well, but the differences are slight. He's like, yeah, they just change a couple components here. This one had slightly more gain. This one had more mid. He just tailored it. Like the main schematic is the same. He just made some adjustments, right? It would be no different than a guitar builder saying, well, what makes this guitar different? Like, well, they all come with maple fretboards, but this artist, I put a rosewood fretboard on his. So his is slightly different. Or this one got a different pickup. Or this one got an extra tone control. So slight differences. So the point is, all this stuff is really slight differences. So if somebody argues that it really doesn't matter, you're right. And the slight differences, if it really matters to you, then it matters too. See what I'm saying? It could be either way. Me personally, the way I look at pickups and just keeping pickups under control in my head is the way I think of them personally, not the way I tell you guys how to think of them. Essentially, there is a lot of great pickups out there, and there's a lot of great unique pickups out there. So we'll talk about, take all the unique pickups out. I'm going to say, argumentatively, for me personally, there are 4 pickups. There's a PAF style pickup, whether it's the 50s or 60s take, whatever, it's a PAF style pickup. Then you have the Super Distortion pickup, which is the DiMarzio pickup. You have the JB, right, pickup. And then you have, see, I said 4. I don't even think I have 4. I got to have 4. There's 4. Remember, I'm just talking humbuckers. I should just say this in humbuckers. And I'm not saying Filtertrons because that's a different style too, but maybe I'll say Filtertron is the 4th one. But more importantly, I'm talking about the anatomy of the actual humbucker. I want to say maybe, I don't know, maybe something like the Bill Lawrence blade pickup or something, which is kind of borderline, kind of like Super Distortion and the idea that we use a ceramic magnet. I could argue, just like if somebody says, when you hear Josh Scott say, like, all these pedals are basically blues breakers, all these pedals are basically tube screamers, all these pedals are basically, clones, all these pedals there's a lineage, they're all I would say almost the same thing for this classic humbucker. All these are PAFs, all these are JBs, all of these are Super Distortions, right? So that is the truth. And then there's just minor differences. It's just subtle. It's just a subtle difference. I make a pickup specifically, so I'm working on a deal now. I'm hoping it's going to go through for the Northern Lights. In the discussion, so this is a little too soon to tell you guys, but in the discussion, I told you guys I've been after a way of not making the Northern Lights, having somebody OEM that for me, so I can focus on content and other things. And in the discussion was the neck pickup. And I go, well, in the neck pickup, I'm essentially recreating a PAF style pickup. So we could use your PAF. The bridge pickup is more important to me. And then how those two interact. But realistically, the bridge pickup is where it's different. And I only make that pickup because, again, I was looking for a certain kind of sound. And like I said, a friend of mine made it and I loved it. And then he stopped making it. But back to your question, yeah, there's essentially only a few pedals. There's only a few guitars. There's only a few pickups. And then there's minor tweaks and changes. And if that doesn't matter to you, it's fine. You're not wrong. You're not. I love it when somebody's like, you just can't hear the difference. You just don't need the difference. It's a tool. If it's not bugging you, right? And if there's not something clawing at your soul that something's off here, then you're fine. Like if somebody honestly plugged into a Blues Junior with an Epiphone ES339 and a Joe-Yo overdrive pedal and said, this is the best sound ever, I wouldn't go, you just don't know good sound. I'd be like, no, you found it. Now make music with it. It's awesome. I'm glad you're not tormented by the idea that something's out there better. It's like I said, it's what works for you. Mad Maddie 5291. I always wonder, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the joke, Mad Maddie. There was 5,290 Mad Maddie's. And then Mad Maddie was like, oh, then I'll do 5,291. I only say this joke. So, this stupid joke that I say, this stupid dad joke I do with the numbers after your names. It's because in my email address is the number 7. It's because literally I just made my email address and 1 and it said taken. 2 is taken. 3 it was taken. 4. You get the idea. I got to 7 and it's like, it proved. So I just assume everybody does that. So in my head, Mad Maddie, you did that 5,290 times and then finally it took. I hope not. It says, hey, Phil, I practiced scales for years and still I am terrible at lead playing. Any advice on how to practice better? Yes. So the idea that scales are somehow going to fix your thing. I'm still horrible at scales. I'm horrible at lead playing. So I'm maybe not the best person to give advice, but the secret, Mad Maddie, you're going to be a commercial here. Okay. I'm going to use your thing as a commercial. Because it came up as a question and I can answer your question, somebody else's question, and do a commercial. It's a win-win-win. Here's the commercial. A viewer sent me and Shauna a very amazing email that was 4 paragraphs long. We read it and he basically said that he got the Tim Pierce course because I suggested it. He loved it. And his feedback to me was, I'm not selling it hard enough because he's taken every other lesson course on YouTube and he names all, I think he named all a bunch of the names, and he's like, you need to let people know it's, that his is the absolute best. And he's like, you need to really let everybody know. Now, hold on. Here's a reason for this. One, the reason why I don't say Tim Pierce is the absolute best is, first of all, Steve Stein, good friend, amazing teacher. Robert Baker, good friend, amazing teacher. Tyler Larson, good friend, amazing teacher. I have a lot, they're my friends. Marty Schwartz, my friend, and great teacher. Tim Pierce's course is what connected to me. Those guys, probably better than Tim Pierce. Who the hell knows, right? But here's what the secret to practice and learning is. The reality is that no one has a magic trick, okay? It's all a lie, okay? Everything's a lie. Everybody's going to say like, if you do my course, I'm going to unlock the fretboard for you. Look, I can recite all the crap you guys hear. I'm going to unlock you just need to know your modes. These are the modes. I'm going to unlock the key to the fretboard. I'm going to show you this one trick, and this trick is going to unlock the thing that you don't understand. Or I'm going to tell you the thing you need to practice that you've been doing wrong all your life, and it's not going to work. And none of that is true. Here's what's true. If you want to be a better guitar player, there's only one way to do it. Play with better musicians. It is absolutely a fact. There is nobody who's talented that questions this. Anyone who plays really well will tell you, whether they are a Grammy artist, whether they are just a talented touring musician, whether they are a famous artist with hit platinum albums, they will tell you who you play with is everything. And especially if somebody's better than you, for some reason, not only does it immediately up your senses to all of a sudden you're just paying attention to what's going on more, but more importantly, it's almost like they just kind of unlock things out of you. It's weird. It's a weird thing. It's like they don't even have to teach you. You just kind of, you get it through, maybe osmosis is not the best way to put it, but you get it through just the sensory of it, just the lick they play, the way they feel. If you get out there and play with other musicians, you'll do better. Absolutely. If you can't lead, trust me, you get around the right musicians on a jam night, you'll pull off your first great lead. It'll happen. The problem is that is the hardest thing to do, which is find other musicians and jam with. It's what we struggle with. And the older you get, the harder it gets. When you're young, it's easy. You go to a friend's house and you go off the afternoon. When you're older, giving up an afternoon is a hard thing to give up. So here's what's interesting to me. I could tell you Steve Stein, which I've said amazing stories about him over the years on the channel, because I told you I have a Guinness Book of World Record because I played in front of like this giant 60,000 people audience. And Steve Stein, literally, if it wasn't for him, I probably would have been a mess. Like a couple other YouTube channels that were there too. He really pulled us through it. And you could see how his mind worked and as a teacher and how it worked. But what's funny is notice that I don't say, as much as I love him as a person, as a player, and in that experience, I don't go, oh, get his lesson course. You should try him. But I push Tim's course because that's where I click for me. And what clicked for me is Tim. Tim, just like watching Tim in videos is like hanging out with Tim to me. And so all of a sudden I got to hear his logic and his thoughts. And this is why he plays what he plays. And And to me, the one thing I learned was I'm like, I could keep playing scales, but I'm never going to play like these shred players or these players that can pull off the licks. Now, I don't want to say never, like I can't do it, but keep in mind, I don't want to do it. So the fact that I don't want to do it is a big problem. Like, I don't mean I don't want to put in the work. I don't want a virtual solo. I'm not a virtuoso. So anyways, to answer your question, and to the viewer who was saying I should praise Tim's lesson program more, that's why I praise Tim's lesson program the way I do. I really highly suggest, if you have a lesson program that works for you, or if you think it's going to work better going another way, do that. I'm just telling you what works for me, which was Tim's course. That's what worked for me. When I couldn't get the interaction with other musicians, right? Just being around Phil X for a day made me a better guitar player. That's absolute truth. You can see the video I did with Phil X. You can literally see the videos afterwards. And just being around him made me better. Just being around Larry Mitchell made me a better player, right? You gotta understand, just so if you can do those, if you can get around these kind of players, that's why going to lessons, one-on-one lessons is great. Just being around someone who's more talented than you. It's not just because they tell you what to do. It's just being around them and seeing how they work and what they do. It really kind of ups your game. So I would say to practice, try to play. That's what I'm basically trying to say. Some people get backing tracks. That kind of works. You could try and maybe play along to a song. Try to play, right? Instead of, like, for me, what helped me the most was, instead of trying to learn a complicated solo that I thought would impress somebody, because that's kind of where my brain went, especially for YouTube, because I'm on this, people are watching me. I don't know what I got, 200 million views on YouTube. People are watching me play guitar. And I'm like, I don't even think of myself as a guitar player, as much as a repair guy and a bass player. But now I'm on the deck. So my first thought was, maybe I'll try to impress people. And then what I really learned is, no, if I play okay, people will just see it better that way. So with you, same thing. Instead of learning a scale and practicing, I would learn an easy solo. I would Google, what is the easiest, watch this. Mad Maddie, what is the easiest guitar solo to play? What does the internet say? Sorry, guys. Okay. About a Girl by Nirvana, Bad Penny by Roy Gallagher, Heartbreak Hotel by Elvis Presley. Okay, so here's what you do, Mad Maddie. Google easiest guitar solo to play, find a genre that works for you, and then play along. I don't care if it's 2 notes, but you nail that thing playing along to the actual song. You could slow the song down. On YouTube alone, you can just go on YouTube and you can slow songs down and speed them up. Slow the song down, play, learn the lick, the piece. Pick a solo that wouldn't impress anyone you know. Not that that's your goal, but I'm just saying, no, wouldn't impress anyone. But if you master it and playing with it, you're gonna see exactly what I'm talking about. It's almost like the next morning you wake up and that achievement alone is where you connect with, oh, wow, this is all I needed to do to pull this off. So that's my 2 cents for whatever. But that's also, so that's why I suggest you do that, but that's also why I keep praising the Tim Pierce course. So there. By the way, I saw Susan. Susan mentioned that she was on the Tim Pierce master class private thing today. She said, so it ties in because I saw it. Said Tim Pierce had nice things to say about you, Phil, today in the master class. He is, look, I am super pushing his product, not only because it worked for me and I like it, but yes, of course, the bias is clear. Not only are we friends, he was so nice to me. He was the first big YouTube channel to ever and I don't care. I'm going to tell it again. So I met Tim Pierce at the PRS event. I believe it was 2017, 2018. I always mess it up. Somebody always corrects me and says it's 2018. I was at an event at PRS. I've told the story 1,000 times. Tim Pierce was there. I saw him. I was a huge fan of Tim Pierce. So I walked up to him and I was standing there. He was talking. It was him and his wife, and he was talking to somebody. And then when they got a break in their conversation, he turned his head to me and I said, hey, I just want to say I'm a huge fan. And I'll never forget, Tim Pierce out of nowhere goes, oh, I'm a huge fan of yours and I want to talk to you. Do you have a minute to talk? And I go, yeah. And he goes, and then I'm just going to say this just because it's just the truth. He goes, I heard you're the smartest guy on YouTube. Can I pick your brain? And I was like, wow, what? And we sat and talked and then this is the funny thing. And this is why he's not, I don't love him because he said I was the smartest guy on YouTube. Here's why I love him. This is why I love this man. We did some videos together. I did a video with him and it is in his top 10 most watched videos. So if you look at Tim Pierce's channel, if you pick top 10, his top most of it, Tim Pierce top 10 watched videos, right? The video I did with him is in that top 10. I don't know where it's in there, but it's in there. Lower 5, but in there. If I'm anywhere, and I know he does this on purpose, if I'm anywhere, I mean anywhere, event, in public with Tim Pierce, when he sees me, he always says, oh, hey, Phil, it's good to see you. You know, you made the most watched video on my channel was with you. He always says it, even though it's not the most watched. I mean, I get it. It's up there. It's not the most watched. It's beaten by many of his own videos that are probably way better than what I could contribute to his channel. But I know he doesn't say it to me when we talk on the phone. He doesn't say it anywhere else. He only says it when other people can hear it. In other words, the first thing he thinks to do, Tim Pierce, the first thing he thinks to do when he's with me in public is tell everybody how great I am. I've been around people. That's a term, and I've heard a million times. It's called share the stage. Some people are very good at sharing the stage. In other words, get up on stage. Let's highlight you. And some people are steal the stage. Tim Pierce is share the stage. That's why I think, and maybe that had an effect on why I like his lessons. But really, honestly, I think he just happens to be an amazing guitar teacher and player too, and I think that helped. But I love telling that, and I love it when I get a chance to tell that story because it was really, really good for me. Really, really nice. Okay, Alex 241. I'm not making that joke twice. Okay, so it says so many. Oh no, we did the thing. Okay, Road Rash 6565 says gas in for guitars is awful. When I get one in my head, I don't think about much else. Yeah, I get that dumb thing too. My big thing that I have to worry about, my cross to bear. I don't know if that's a term. What's the thing, that monkey on your back, right? Whatever. The problem that I have all the time. There's got to be a thing for it, right? A term for it. The problem I have is not obsessing over a new piece of gear. I do that, and that's probably a small problem, but it's not my main problem. My main problem is I focus on gear I got rid of years ago. Like, oh, I need that amp again. I need that guitar again. Things I got rid of. And everybody says the same thing. They go, well, then don't get rid of your stuff. I'm like, no, trust me. Almost 9 out of 10 times if I buy that piece of gear again, I immediately go, oh yeah, that's right, I got rid of it. But for some reason, the memory of a thing is just, it haunts me. It's like, oh, why did I ever get rid of that great thing? And so, that's when YouTube videos save me a fortune, because like I had in my head a couple weeks ago, I had to have this amp and it's only $400. I mean, not only, but you know what I mean? It's not like a crazy expensive amp. And I was like $300-400 for this amp. Maybe I should buy it again. And I watched like 8 videos on it on YouTube and I went, nah, yeah, I think it sounds the way I remember it. Not that great. So that's my issue. That's my thing I got to deal with. So Destructo says, hey Phil, thoughts on the new Vox 8386, whatever, Auto-wah. Vox 863 Auto-wah. I saw that. I don't have any thoughts, other than I saw the wah pedal. Let's see if we can find it and share it with you guys. An actual image. We can. I saw the wah. It has a lot of knobs and stuff. Hold on. I have to accept these things. Here's what it is, guys, if you guys don't see. So this is a new Vox wah. It's the V863 CA semi-auto wah, 3 modes, and a lot of knobs on the side. So you can do, unlike traditional auto wah pedals that often compromise tone, this one uses a unique design that directly drives the pedal inductor, preserving the iconic wah sound. So that, no thoughts on this. I saw it. I'm not looking for a new wah, but I would be up for a video on it. So pretty cool. I have a video coming, a wah video coming in the next month, I hope. And but I would do more of these. So It's too early to announce. It will be next show, a little teaser for next week's show. Too early to announce it now, but there's something coming to the channel that's going to make it, when you guys think like, hey, would you like to check out a piece of gear? It's going to make it easier for this channel to do more videos than we ever did and do some of your special requests. Aussie English says, hey, Phil, I played 2 Ibanez Artists AR300s, same specs, one 1981, one's 1982. 1981 is bright and articulate, 82 is very dark. What explains this? So first of all, anytime you're talking about a hollow or semi-hollow guitar, you're really talking about a guitar that's pretty much all handmade. Okay, so first of all, just that term alone, all handmade. So, and then for the reference, I'm going to show a 1979 one because that's what just came up. Oh, it's not. This one's 1981. Let me show you this. Oh, that's not that. That's me. Okay. This is the 300. They are semi-hollow, right? Do I remember this correctly? Or maybe I'm not. So maybe I'm wrong. They're not semi-hollow, so they're not handmade. It does not look semi-hollow to me. But I could be wrong. So if it's not handmade, that's a big factor. Another thing that could be a factor is the pickups are a big difference. And that's about it. I would imagine the pickups are the biggest change in it. See, the thing I can't see with your question is, you said they're pretty much the same, but I mean, that one had brass saddles. They both have brass saddles? Does one have made of different material? One is very dark. Oh, you know what it is? First of all, make sure when dealing with guitars and comparing 2 guitars, always make sure the same strings, the same age. Strings have a huge factor in this. It's actually massive by far when you're comparing guitars. The strings can be huge. For instance, the ES239 I was playing today, this one I'm holding up, I said it has pure nickel strings on it. These strings are going to sound way warmer and deader than some bright strings, whether they're the NYXLs or just typical strings. Somebody says Phil's wearing shorts. No, I'm not wearing shorts. I was up early standing and saw I had pants when I took the guitar down. Anyways, it's too cold. It's Arizona. It's too cold for shorts. Isn't that funny? I'm joking. Anyways, so strings first, absolute. Make sure the strings are the same. Otherwise, you're not even this. In fact, every time anyone compares 2 guitars, if they're not the exact same gauge, exact same type of string, brand type, everything, and age. In other words, they're not exactly like 2 days old each or 1 day or brand new or whatever. If they're not the same, that's going to throw everything off right there. Then after that, distance of the pickups going to be a factor. Then the pickups themselves. And that is so much of a factor that if those things are exact, then we're talking, small things that are going to probably make those differences. But those things have to be the same. Otherwise, the other things don't even worry about speculating. So in other words, instead of going like, oh, the thickness of the paint or the type of woods, or this one's a maple neck versus a mahogany neck, or this one was made in 1981. In 91, there was less pollution than there was in 82. Whatever the theory, those 2 things are by far the biggest things that you have to get. They have to be exact. Otherwise, nothing after that matters. Dr. Diff says, I will be in Tokyo in May. Any thoughts of what I should be looking for? Like when he's basically going to all the cool guitar stores. Anything made in the USA that's really cool. That's always cool because they ship a lot of the cool vintage stuff there, I guess. I would say focus on some of the cool made in Japan only products, like by Fender. That's really cool. Ibanez. There's a lot of cool products that are just, they're made in Japan, but they're only available in Japan kind of product stuff. That's stuff that's cool. Very cool. I would definitely look for that. That's pretty what I would do. Cameron says, hey, Phil, love your stuff. What is the best guitar for small hands? I'm dealing with hand pain and I want the smallest possible scale neck. So first of all, don't confuse hand pain with the thickness of a neck or the scale length of it. There's so much more to that. If you're dealing with hand pain, okay, so if you're dealing with issues, whether it's arthritis or it's just, whatever you have, tendon issues or whatever the deal is, unfortunately, do yourself a favor and spend time with guitars. Do not buy online. You're for the rest of us with like, if I'm not dealing with hand pain, if I'm not dealing with a bunch of any specific issues, I can make educated guesses online of whether a guitar is gonna be right or not. But I mean, essentially, you're in your situation. I would take yourself down to a nice music store and spend some time with guitars. You will be shocked with what actually feels good and doesn't feel good. Because whatever advice I give you, it could be the totally wrong advice. It doesn't matter if your hands are small. That doesn't matter. None of that matters, right? It's funny. Somebody will say, I have small hands, so I don't like chunky necks. And then somebody say, I have small hands, and so I don't like really small necks. It's just weird. It's funny to me how a millimeter difference in the width of a nut is massive to me in the way I play. Not only the thickness, just that width right there, huge factor for me. Also the action, right? So a chunkier neck with lower action, I'm actually okay with, but a thinner neck with higher action is a little more difficult for me. So sometimes action is a driver for me. So you definitely want to go out there and play some guitars, and it will speak to you. My guess is if you're having any kind of real pain, it's a real simple thing. It's a simple test. For me, it takes in my situation, personal situation, it takes me 20 minutes of playing because I play so many guitars for the channel. One thing that's tough for me to do is sometimes the guitar, although it's a great guitar and you guys are gonna love it, it's the wrong guitar for me because maybe the neck's not right for me. After about 20 minutes of playing is when I start noticing like, oh, I'm just feeling it right here in my tendons, and I just don't love it. And it takes me 20 minutes to feel any kind of pain from a neck being too awkward. And I say awkward meaning it could be because it's thick, it could be because it's too rounded, it could be because it's too flat. I mean, it's just weird how it works. So I would definitely go out there and put your hands on instruments. And doesn't matter what playing level you're at, if you're newer or more of a veteran, it doesn't matter. Just literally put your hands on the instruments. Because everything else is just going to be somebody put like me going, oh, go with a short scale and a thin neck. That's like right? No, I don't think so. I don't think it'll work. So, Nella says, hey Phil, would a video about inventorying and insuring one's gear be worth doing? You mean for me or for you? You can make whatever video you want. Inventorying, insuring one's gear. What I recommend, what I recommend is, can I show you guys? Let's see. I've shown you this before. I'm going to show you what I use for the most part. I'm going to try and show you guys something. Okay, so here's a perfect example. So here's something I use. So on Reverb, okay, there is a tab in Reverb. So when you go to your Reverb store, okay, this is my personal tab. You're looking at actually mine. Obviously, I just showed you that Music Man, and there's a Bad Cat, my Jet Black that I have. Funny, I got to change this because my combo I converted to a head. So anyways, and then here's my mic. So Reverb has this feature where I can go, because obviously I don't want to show you my account. I don't know what if you go down to your where it says menu. So if you go into Reverb, just anywhere in Reverb, if you're signed in the right-hand corner, it's going to say menu. Just remember this. It's super easy. Then a drop-down menu comes down, okay? And all you have to do is keep going down to at the bottom category. It's going to say My Collection, okay? And what we will do is, okay, so when you go to My Collection, right? I'm going to do it right now. Try to share it with you guys. Add to collection. Oh, look at that. It's pretty easy. Okay. So if you go to My Collection, okay, go to My Collection and you tap on Add to Your Collection, I'm going to add this Marshall because I have a Marshall Class 5 that I bought. And it's added. Okay. So now what happens is, go back to me. And again, I'm sorry that I have to be like this because I didn't plan to do this. So I don't know what it's showing and not showing you guys. And I don't want to be like, oh no. Okay. So in My Collection, it should be the newest thing. It is the newest thing. Okay. Perfect. So this is what it does for me. So in My Collection, it's now in My Collection. And so it's telling me that Reverb says that the average price for this is $358 to $437. And since I purchased it, I have lost $90 because I paid $487 for it. Isn't that good news? This does everything automatically for you. It's the descriptions. So when you want, here's why I like this. You go to Reverb, you hit My Collection. If you bought something on Reverb, it's going to be the option to auto-populate it like I just did. And because you bought it on Reverb, it's going to keep what you paid for it in the memory. And then it's just going to tell you the going, no. Unfrequent Believer says the problem is that the price are not of your actual gear. That's not true. I just showed you. If you look, I paid 400 right here. Since I purchased, I paid 487. See, since purchased. If you bought it on Reverb, it puts exactly what you paid for it and now what they say they're going for, whether you're up or down. And it just gives you a range of what they're going for. This isn't really the important part, but it's a good way to kind of get a general idea. The problem though is if you didn't buy it on Reverb, you have to manually plug in what it is, but it's a drop-down menu. You just find the product on Reverb, type in what what it is you have. You can upload the picture if you want, if they don't have a picture, and you can put in exactly what you paid. Okay. And he says pics. I'm pretty sure you can add pics too. Let's see, edit details. Yep. So look, if you go to edit details, look, these are the file pictures the person used to when they sold it to me, but I can go here, see, upload pictures, and I can upload my pictures. Now you got to keep in mind, and Chris, so you may not know this, they update this thing. So it might have revisions since the last time you use it. I've been using it because once you spend the time, trust me, it takes you a while if you have a lot of gear. You take your time to put all your stuff in there. And the reason I like doing that is because it's off-site. It's in the cloud, right? It's in Reverb. So it's not in your computer now. It's not your information. It's you drop down and you get it from them. So obviously, if there was a fire or something in your house and everything was lost, the information would still be out there. You'd be able to pull up on Reverb, actual pictures. If you bought it, it'll have the serial numbers, have all that information. Anything that was populated when you bought it will be there. Anything else that you want to put add to it. If you don't buy gear on Reverb, you just put in your pictures of your gear and what you paid, and it will still try and give you the best value for it. You know what I mean? Or, the average value. So it's a good way to get an idea what stuff's worth, but mostly it's just a way to keep a list of all your stuff. And you can do this a ton of other ways. I get that. But I started using this a few years ago when I shared it to you guys. For those of you, I'm just going to say, because I said it when I shared it with you guys years ago, the only downside that I see, but of course you guys can see a lot of downsides too, is that obviously Reverb probably has this information too, right? I think it says in there that they won't share any of this information and stuff, but I think it says they can't see it, but I don't know. I don't remember. But I don't care. I was like, I don't care if Reverb knows what gear I have. I just did it because, like I said, it's really easy for me, real quick, to go. So it'll give you a total of what all your gear is worth based on what you put in, what you paid, and what the average rate. So it gives you an idea. And I'll tell you something that's positive maybe for me is I've had a couple things that I didn't really love. And they were sitting around, and one day I was updating something and I saw because see how it said my amp's worth $90 less in red. It said, all of a sudden I saw a thing that says we're $800 in green. It's worth $800 more than you paid. And I clicked and I listed it for $1,000 more and I sold it in an hour. And I was like, oh, I made $1,000. And I didn't even care about that thing anymore. It's just because, like I said, people started wanting it. So that's something that I recommend. Yeah, and then K-Dub says you can add serial numbers. Right, I added serial numbers to mine. With what I do is just for laziness, I don't actually type in the serial numbers. I just take a picture of the serial number and I upload the picture into it with whatever pictures it has, or if I'm adding pictures. So there's a picture of the serial number. And there's a reason why I like that, because then I would imagine, again, I'm just guessing, so again, take the information the way you want, that the AI, if there's AI involved or anything, the AI can't read the serial number off the picture, but it can probably read everything that I type. Does that make sense? That's kind of like a logic. Like if I put all the serial numbers in this in typed in, my logic was some kind of AI can have scanned all the serial numbers, all my stuff. Not that I'm overly freaked out about that, but I thought, a picture of it just seemed a little easier because if I need it to show a police officer or anything, it's just the picture of the serial number is gonna be enough. So, so I would, Max says, why serial numbers? Because if your stuff gets stolen, this is what, like, think about this. In theory, like, think about a situation. You're at a gig and somebody steals your Marshall Class 5 amp. It just gets stolen right there. And the police is there. The police come and they're like, oh, okay, what happened? And I'm like, yeah, this guy took it. People saw this guy run off with it. And so now you're reporting it stolen. I can pull out my phone right now. I can go to Reverb and I can pull it up and I can go and I can send the cop. I can text him like, here's the pictures of the amp and here's the serial number for the amp. So the police immediately have the information. They can immediately put it, so like we talked about pawn clearance on this channel before. So like if that guy goes to pawn it or sell it to a Guitar Center or something, it's in the system already. Like I don't have to go, well, let me get back to the house and get the information. It's like, I have it in my phone. It's wherever I go. So it's just I think it's a nice feature. I think it's one of the coolest things Reverb's done, in my opinion. So, so that's what I suggest for that. And then insurance, I always tell everybody the same thing with insurance. Dirt Racer X says receipts are best for insurance. I mean, obviously this is this is the receipt. If you bought it on Reverb, that's the receipt. Just again, so we're clear, I just take pictures of the receipts and put the pictures too. So, yeah. And again, that's just what I do. I'm not giving you guys advice of what you should do because somebody's going to say, oh, the insurance won't take the receipts. I've had their insurance just take whatever I said. So, just go, this is what happened. And you show them what happened and that's what works. So, but I haven't had to deal with it in a long time. So who the hell knows? And then Brooklyn Sound Garage says, why do people hide serial numbers? I believe it's for two reasons. So, one, let's give the reason, let's give them the benefit of the doubt reason, and then why the nefarious reason. Benefit of the doubt. I think the reason that people don't do it is because people apparently, if they see your serial number and your picture and your thing, they can report the guitar stolen and say it's theirs now, right? That's what I've heard somebody say. They'll go, oh, that guitar's stolen, and here I have the serial number. Because again, the police are going to go, what's the serial number to this item? And you're going to, here's my serial number. And now they're reporting it stolen. I don't know if that would really work. I've kind of walked it through in my head, and I've found a few holes in that theory. Like I'm imagining, like the police are going to then go, well, okay, we want a receipt, and and what if that other person has all the proof that they got it? Like that doesn't make any sense. That's one. Two, they also say that people can make fraud, so they can list an item on Reverb or eBay as so let's say somebody takes my Urge bass and the serial number and says, oh, here it's for sale, because they take my pictures and the serial number, and then they commit fraud because people are more willing to believe it if you see the serial number, right? Because they're like, do you really have the bass? Yeah. But I also think it's because some people don't want. So let me explain how this works. So we talk about pawn clearance. Pawn clearance is usually by state, and sometimes even by county, which is even tougher. So let me give you an example. Somebody steals a guitar, and the serial number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just keeping it easy for you guys to remember. And then they can't. Now let's say that I'm not talking about the person who stole the guitar. Let's just say you were in a Best Buy parking lot. Some guy's like, I'll sell you this Fender American Strat for $75, and you buy it. I've seen so many people do this as a store owner, so I'm just going to tell you how it works. And people are going to be like, oh yeah, and they bought it because they're like, that's a deal. But they're like, it's probably hot. You know how many people tell me, like, I got this guitar for a deal, but it's probably hot. Okay, so and here's what happened in my experience. They come in your store and they go, oh, I want to sell it to you. And I'm like, okay, I need the serial number. I need your driver's license. We're going to run through pawn clearance. And they're like, what's that? And I go, well, we want to see if it's stolen. And they're like, oh, it's probably stolen. I'm like, okay, well, and then, you're like, okay, well, you should turn it in. And they're like, well, I bought it. You see what I'm saying? This is where it gets weird. I could tell you stories about that time, but we're too late in the show to get into a story about that. So here's what's important, though. What's important is that is only for there. So if that person who has a stolen instrument, whether they stole it or they bought it, thinking it's stolen, or they're just nervous, maybe it is stolen, right? They can list it on Reverb and eBay, and they sell it out of state. Once it's out of state, No one's going to know it's stolen. I mean, that's how, think of this. People who steal a lot of guitars, I mean, other things too, but I'm just saying in my industry, in the world of guitars, people steal like a ton of guitars, throw them in a truck and take them and see it over. That police department doesn't have the information to know that they're stolen. So what happens is if you take the stolen guitar and you post it on Reverb, and then the person who's like, obviously, if my Marshall Class 5 got stolen, I'd be looking everywhere, and I'd look on Reverb one night and I go, hey, that's my Class 5. And then I email the guy going, hey, this is mine. And then I report it to the police department. They have to call that local police department. And now this person has that local police department. This is what happens, by the way. They come to their door and they're like, hey, this was reported stolen out of state. So I think a lot of people cover up the serial numbers so that you can't figure out if it's your stuff, if it was stolen. That's why I said that way is more nefarious. Me, I don't cover up any serial numbers, whether it's in a video or I'm selling it. My logic is if somebody calls me and says it's stolen, then we'll deal with it, whatever issues, because obviously I definitely unknowingly got it if it was stolen. So that's a couple of reasons why they do it. And then I've heard a couple other reasons too, but those are the big ones. Okay. Max says there are some bad people out there. You probably would be shocked. I got stories on top of stories. We could, anytime you guys want those more horror guitar stories from the store, I got tons of them. Okay, hold on. I thought I had, okay. I have the last question. It's a super chat. Scent of a Wheelchair Pillow says, has anyone ever made a 12-string headless acoustic or electric? Not that I'm aware of. Seems like a good solution to a 12-string neck dive. There might be a headless, but it's like the 6 on the head goes down and then, no, I don't think there's a 6-string headless. Not that I've seen. I'll Google it real quick. 6-string headless guitar. Kiesel makes a headless double neck, but it's a 7 and a 6. I don't see, nothing comes up. No 12-string headless guitars. That would be cool, but I don't know how they would do it. And I would imagine they wouldn't sell very many. Not a lot of people loving the headless guitars, comparatively speaking, and not a lot of people love 12-string. So can't imagine it's 12. Okay. I think we covered everything. If I missed a super chat, I know I missed some of Amanda's questions she sent to me, but I got to a couple of them. And so I want to thank you guys for everyone hanging out. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Like I said, you can always check out the merch or the Tim Pierce course, or you can become a patron, or you could just like the video or whatever it is you want to do to support the channel. Any support is definitely appreciated. I appreciate it. Look forward. I hope you guys look forward. I look forward to showing you guys the new geeky stuff videos. And for those that hang out to the end, I'll give you the tease on it. We just reworked the entire shop room. It was 2 to 3 weeks of work and what I feel is an excruciating amount of money. But maybe because I'm cheap, but with new computers, new cameras, new everything. Why not to make it better? Video quality improved a lot, but that wasn't the focus. The focus is that hopefully now we should be able to make, and we don't know, we're pretty sure the videos, we should be able to make twice as many videos. So if that's the case, that's going to be just right there epic, because we can make more deep dives. And then some new features in the deep dives that I think you guys appreciate. So look for those. You'll start seeing those real soon. All right, guys, on that note, thank you so much for your time. See you next Friday, and know your gear.
Today's episode of the Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible.